All right, good evening, everybody. A little bit closer to a proper start tonight. I'm still very tired though, so I'll try to get a little housekeeping out of the way just because I also have some tea steeping. Um, there seems to have been a really bad habit lately for weekends obliterating my sleep schedule, and I think what's actually happening here is that it's already shot. And it just happens that the weekend allows me to sleep in, and that winds up shifting the window. So a little bit like it has been the case for the past few Mondays that I'm going on very little sleep, and I notice that makes me very talkative. And I'm gonna try and rein that in, but I haven't really been that successful at it the last little while. And I do feel a little self conscious about that just simply because we're going to be playing Old World, which is a game I like a lot and was one that we actually put on the shelf last week because we had an opportunity to do the Terra Invicta demo a little bit earlier. I believe today was the last day of Next Fest, so I think Terra Invicta might be up for a couple more days. At least last I heard, there wasn't a firm decision in terms of when that was coming down. But if you haven't tried it yet, I definitely recommend getting on it because I have a feeling that it will probably take more time to play through than you may be expecting. In a good way. Like, it is a very dense game. I'm very excited for it. I'm happy that I got a chance to try it out. And of course, I owe a thank you to Hooded Horse for that. And of course, it is also worth mentioning here that Old World is also a key that I was given a copy from Hooded Horse. That's a slightly more complicated situation because I believe I'd actually also gotten a key from Mohawk when it was on Epic, and I certainly enjoyed the game back when it was on Epic. But with the inclusion of sort of a mute function for the copyrighted music, it's definitely allowed me to stream this a bit more regularly. And of course, Hooded Horse, I believe, is responsible for getting that final push to bring it on Steam, which is where I think most of you have probably learned of this game from. And of course, I got a chance to do Heroes of the Aegean. So thank yous all around for that. But as always, it's worth highlighting those interests. The other reason why I kind of wanted to mark the difference, one, it's just a nice chance to kind of talk about some of the games that I've been playing and interested in. But the other factor is that I am finally at the point where I've got Old World sort of in the slot that I want for the broadcast. So traditionally, Monday has been a strategy day, and as with anything, I'm not entirely sure how much people have. Sorry, I just need to make sure I didn't. Cool. Yes, we do have streaming mode on. So, I'm not 100% sure how many people watch this broadcast and say, okay, I'm into the strategy stuff, but I don't care for maybe the narrative games as much. Or it's like, I really like it when you play the narrative games and I cannot make any heads or tails out of this strategy stuff. Although I'd suggest Old World is still a good fit because there's very much a focus on character and the events are very rewarding. Especially because they include some links to historical, kind of historical backgrounds for the ones that sort of are based on actual events. So, if you're in that crowd, please hang around. You may see something you're interested in the case of Old World. But yeah, I realize consistency is something that people value, particularly when it comes to deciding what streams to watch. I don't think it hurts to have a dedicated strategy Monday, although, of course, I do, in general, have a preference and a kind of a habit of playing strategy games. But for the most part, Old World, through chance or circumstance, has always wound up kind of being a Friday game, and I'd always been meaning to put it in Monday, because Stellaris is just not happening. I think we've covered this a couple of times, but I have a gap, and I'm looking forward to doing Old World. There is another game that is strategy-oriented, which is actually related in an indirect way to Old World, which I want to hop on as well. But again, it's a question in terms of finding time. That might actually be something that I do this Friday. But with that in mind, it also just gives me a chance to, again, I gotta warm up on this, and my tea is now ready. For the foreseeable future, I'm going to try and make Old World the Monday game. This Wednesday, we will be playing Phantom Brigade, because there is an update out for it, but I'd forgot that this is the update where they're adding the replayability, and I think that is going to be a lot of fun. If you've not seen Phantom Brigade, you might want to stop by, because that is a very good-looking game. And so that kind of leaves Friday open. Now, with that in mind, just because there's a dedicated day for, brace yourself stuff in Old World, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't consider doing another Old World or, another Phantom Brigade stream or something like that. But because we've got, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of things that I would like to cover regularly, we've got Old World, we've got Phantom Brigade, we've got Industries of Titan, we've got Songs of Conquest out there, and then this other game, mystery game that I've been mentioning. So if you notice, that's 6 different games, and I will generally, my fixed days are 3 times a week. And then if I have an opportunity to record more, I'll do it. But you'll notice that it's been a while since I've been able to do something extra. So with all of that in mind, I want to try and do more. Old World is a game I enjoy enough, and it's a developer that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. For instance, Off-World Trading Company is a really wonderful game, which I actually didn't stream that much, but I loved playing it, and I believe is free to play in multiplayer. But all that being said, I like seeing Old World as a little bit of a pillar, but just with that in mind, every once in a while I might switch things up if I feel that something's been getting sort of the short end of the stick. But it's almost been 10 minutes. Let's hop in. I can't remember if I was playing some of this on my own. Generally, I like to try and play things on the broadcast, so looks like... the 18th. So why don't I have autosaves for this Babylon playthrough? Neither here nor there. I actually haven't gone back to the Heroes of the Aegean scenario with Macedonia. Macedonia is a very difficult scenario, but I think that's a good thing, right? Because, Heroes of the Aegean, I think they have 6 scenarios in it, so if you just burn through them the first time, each time, I suspect probably the reaction then would be, it's like, oh, there wasn't any content in this update. So, it's nice to have a little bit of it's nice to have a bit of meat. So even if it does mean that the game humbles you every once in a while, or maybe I'm just bad at it, but being bad has not stopped me from enjoying it. I do apologize. I've also been stalling a little bit because the sun is setting where I'm at, and it's going right into my eyes. Okay, so with this Babylon playthrough, one of the things that we have kind of tended to do, I wouldn't necessarily say by design, but certainly I embrace it. Especially just because it's such a natural way for me to put a limit on the amount of time that I spend on the game. We've been playing kind of for each generation. So we had Nebuchadnezzar was our first ruler. Queen Kashaya, who, let's face it, did pretty well for herself. 65. And died the good. I can't remember. I think there's I don't remember how to get the family tree, but we can see what Nebuchadnezzar left as a legacy or a plan. But in any case, it's turned out that basically each stream we wind up playing a generation of the family, and I'm actually kind of okay with that. I think that's a neat way to run with it. So, messengers from the capital bring news. Queen Kashaya the Good's death. All of Babylonia mourns with the royal family. Hail Queen Belisunu the new and rightful queen of Babylonia. balance of power. Both the Chaldeans and the Amorites have suffered labor uprisings in the last month, and they have come to us seeking insight. While they do not wish to surrender all authority, they need the court's help to organize their affairs. What shall we do? So we shall assume control reluctantly. So this would give us centralization, or they must clean up their own mess, and this would give us vassalage. Now this is basically, this is going to give us a law. So, turns out that both the Chaldeans and the Amorites like both equally. So in this case, what we really want to do is we want to see what the benefits from this is going to be. Now, one thing that's maybe worth keeping in mind here is that I have some ideas in terms of things that I wanted to accomplish. I believe we were at a negative food balance and I wasn't really generating a lot of food. So that's one challenge. I also know we were at war with the Assyrians, and we actually had a goal, a legacy, or an ambition. I guess it's a legacy now, but it was an ambition, not just to capture a foreign city, but capture a foreign capital. And there's a pretty strong Assyrian force that came after us. So the likelihood of getting this done within 20 years is somewhat remote. But we'll do our best. So with that in mind, like one of the things that I want to keep an eye on is like what actions are going to be in line with me achieving some of my other goals. You can just give me a quick second here. I need to just put something on charge. Also, the sun just went behind a tree, so I'm very happy. So, centralization. We can actually get a full read of centralization, but I think it kind of tells us what we need to know here. So, 10 civics in the capital city, plus 2 science per year per culture level. I'm curious. So it says here Babylon, so I'm curious. Oh, no, okay, I get it. So 10 civics empire-wide, and then capital. Okay, so yeah, 10 civics in the capital city seems like a very centralized power. So yeah, better civics overall. And then 2 science per year per culture level in Babylon, so that's an extra 6 science. Alternatively, they must clean up their own mess. So minus 50% unit consumption. Now, I think that's going to be relevant for things like wood. So we're currently losing 8 wood due to our archers, I believe. Also, we're losing a little bit of stone from our, from our units. But I mean, let's face it, that's not a big problem here. 76, I think we can afford to give up 2. But 8. I mean, essentially, if we were to somehow remove, so this ability on its own would give me 4 wood. So I mean, a 50% increase to my production is definitely not a bad thing. And of course, I was talking about wanting to have this very archery focused approach, and so with that in mind, like this may actually be something that I would consider. No extra unit consumption when outside of orders. Also, okay, yeah, so we're probably going to need to go even further with wood. On the other hand, though, I think I'm still going to stick with centralization, and this is mostly just because we've really had just this overwhelming advantage with science. And I think particularly because science will wind up generating these free units for me as well, it's kind of hard to turn down the possibility of getting all those extras. Essentially, what I'm sort of saying here is that with the focus inside of Babylon, what I need to make sure is that I dedicate my workers towards overcoming or essentially getting the equivalent benefit that I would have gotten from vassalage. So essentially, what I'm signing my workers up for is just generating a lot of wood in particular. I'll probably need some iron soon too. So we'll assume control reluctantly. Your newborn, Duchess Zakiti, arrives in the dead of night during a howling rainstorm. The mystics of the court view this event as a very bad omen, and they warn us of coming turmoil. So, sacrifice cows to the chief god. Now that's a big hit for us right now. We've got build a great fire to ward off evil. So in this case, the thing that I notice here is that buying wood is very, very costly. Buying food is quite inexpensive for me, and part of that's just because we have been selling so much that we can sort of we've depressed the price. So I'm slightly inclined towards just buying back food when we need it, or do nothing. This is mere superstition. I really don't think getting a big stack of discontent is quite the thing that I want to do here. So we'll sacrifice the cows. Tutorial, Scholar Archetype. Now, it's worth keeping in mind that Nebuchadnezzar II, who... Takri, how you doing? I have been delighted, by the way, at least I'll take it from the comments that you haven't been turned off of the Outer Wilds playthrough. So, and how you doing, Beepo? Thanks for stopping by. I've been delighted that you seem to have been enjoying the archives of Outer Wilds, and more importantly, you watched it all. Oh, lovely. But yeah, I also felt a little bad. Like, I completely understand why. But yeah, I felt a little bit bad when you were talking about sort of the backseaty stuff, because it's like I realize I am not relaxed about it, but I don't like. I don't like behaving in a way that people feel like they can't express themselves. But one of the contexts that you can maybe appreciate is that especially for some of the types of games that I will play, there is very much an attitude of thou shalt, or, you know, my way is the only way of playing. And particularly when I'm not even given a chance to do things on my own. That can become really tricky. That can actually be the time where I really don't enjoy playing a game. And this has gotten as ridiculous where I've played a game that, like, it was a Kickstarter and there was a special backer beta. It was quite literally the first time anyone could play the game in public, and I was having people telling me how to play the game. And it's like, clearly this cannot be coming from experience, right? Unless you're a developer of the game, there was no way you could know what's going on inside of it. And as it happens, this is someone I personally knew. But with that in mind, like, I also, like, I guess the simplest thing that I can say, and you say I understand the dislike for backseating is one of the few things that actually can make you grumpy. So I'm glad we're on the same page. I think the other important thing, and this is one nice thing about streaming for me, is that when you talk about what you are trying to do in a game, particularly out loud when the when there's people watching or recording going on, it forces you to think, and it more importantly forces you to own up to mistakes. So it's particularly clear in Outer Wilds that there was definitely some stuff that I did not realize right away. And as somebody who likes not just sort of playing games, but sort of like kind of getting under the hood and seeing what makes them tick, it's really interesting to me to see where I like completely fail to pick up on a certain detail. Even something that could be written in plain English, like the thing that you were pointing out. Just kind of seeing where I sort of fail to do that, particularly when I have like a stroke of genius on some other kind of approach. So with that in mind, like, I think it is kind of important for me to also own up to when I didn't know something. And with that in mind, right, like, first of all, I really appreciate you just sort of framing it in the way that you did. But I think one of the most important thing is that there's always just this weird division where the people who need to stop being annoying completely fail to heed the advice. And the people who are actually well-intentioned and want to help and have genuinely noticed a case where I totally didn't get it and would be enjoying the game more. I do know that there can be a situation where it's really unnerving to try and bring something like that up, lest I sort of breathe fire on someone. So, Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly the way that I usually go about it. Like sometimes I'll say like what like sometimes when I'm in the zone, and we will get to Old World, but it's not a bad conversation to have. It's like it's just one of these things where like if somebody says, "Hey, I think there might have been something that you missed that that might help you out here," or like, "Do you mind if I just mention a bit of a mechanic that doesn't quite seem to have stuck?" Like, sometimes I'll be like, "Well, I'm still trying to wrestle with this right now, so if you don't mind, could I get you to to maybe mention that later?" And like, obviously, I'll feel really silly after the fact when it's like, "Oh wow, okay, I didn't need to fire the probe." But yeah, for the most part, that sort of stuff is good. I can actually. You probably didn't get to see these, Takri, but there's actually a really specific one that I was thinking of, and it was the YouTube videos. But when I went on my break between the priest legacy and the current dancer legacy, there was someone who found the channel, and I'm always really happy to see this. But they would always be writing these comments like, "What you fail to realize is ... or "You're trying to make this mysterious, but it obviously isn't going to work." And like that sort of stuff really does. Now, I'm trying to be more relaxed and let people be themselves, so I didn't immediately like tamp down on it. But like I would get like during that whole break, it was like almost every day I would get a comment like that, and like I was starting to like not enjoy my break. So I think eventually on this playthrough, the guy said something, and I just told them like, "Stop bossing me around," and they've never left another comment again. And to be honest, I don't mind missing out on stuff like that. But it's one of these ones which is so funny where there's someone like you who's like really respectful, and I almost feel bad that you kind of needed to sort of tiptoe around the topic when the people I'm really frustrated by are the ones who are claiming to know the contents of my head at the time of broadcast, particularly on videos where it's clear like they're not going to be changed, like the playthrough's done. And with that, those are, I think, just to a certain extent, it winds up sort of ruining the fun for everyone. But the other reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit is that every once in a while it comes up in the context of strategy games. And the one that always just kind of left me a little flabbergasted was I would hear people, like they'd kind of come in and they'd sort of throw their weight around in terms of how a complicated strategy game works. And within 10 minutes, I would hear from them, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." And I just think to myself, I was like, yeah, it's because, I don't... like, I take the time to try new things, right? I don't go and look up a guide and try and find the best way of going. With that in mind, something like Old World actually does now have a manual, and a manual is written by a community member who's quite good at the game and does actually make some recommendations in terms of strategies and things that would work best. It's actually kind of why I've held back, because I'm at the point here where I'd sort of like to burn my hand on the stove a few times to give it a shot. But it's just one of these cases where I've actually seen, like, I've always been a little astonished that there are people who don't realize that, like, "Oh, wow, this is something new that I've never seen before" material actually comes from the frustrating, this guy's playing it wrong stuff. Like, you kind of have to have the one to do the other. And it's why I like games like this and why I like games like Outer Wilds and such, is because it's an opportunity for me to sort of get lost and find my way through and just feel that much better for going through it. Anyways, sorry, I kind of ranted about backseating without anybody backseating, but I just figured it was not a bad time for me to address the comments, and specifically to say that I hadn't forgotten Outer Wilds. It's obviously a really special game that I enjoyed very much. But it was a lot of fun to kind of see how far you got through the playthrough when your comments came up. So thank you for giving me a little bit of a boost on my old content. Okay, so anyways, before we were talking about scholars, so Nebuchadnezzar was a scholar, I believe. Your leader, Queen Belisenu the New, is a scholar archetype. A scholar leader can conduct tutor child as a leader missions and redraw technology choices, They can also unlock inquiries in the capital. I will make the best use of my leader based on their archetype. Yeah, I have a feeling a few people were quite frustrated with. I'm assuming you're talking about the Quantum Moon, but um, but yeah, I mean it's to be honest, I'm really not sure where, like, it's funny that so many people don't seem to have the same problem that I did. So I'm curious what went wrong for me. But I'm happy I got through it. A character can be assigned as a general to a unit, contributing their unique bonuses to the unit. Assign a general by selecting a unit and then clicking the Add General button in the action pane on the left. A general, with the exception of the leader, cannot be from a different family from that unit. Our Slinger unit has been hard at work training for battle, and they're ready for leadership. Will you take the role of general and lead them? In this case, no, because I'm not I'm not a terrible general, but I could be better. So I'll say no, I'm needed in the capital. Noble Jewish ambitions. The Kassite family are known for their Jewish religion and have sent a priest to the capital to make a plea for aid for both the family and the faith. In a lengthy speech, he explains how helping either the Kassite or Judaism would benefit everyone involved and lead to their increased support for your rule. Will you take on a new ambition? So we could support the desire to control 2 elder doctors, or we could support the Kassite desire to control 10 cities. Both of these are rather challenging. I think if we... So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Well, I have 7. That's really only 3 more cities. You know what? Let's actually try the Kassite desire for 3 cities, and that just means that we're really going to have to stick it to the Assyrians. Yeah, Tikri, I'm glad that you like that. I think that's the one thing that's nice about being lost is that you, or like seeing someone who's lost. It's, I guess at the very least, like if you know they have an ability to kind of like work with it, you know that if you wait long enough, you're gonna get that. You're going to get that moment where the penny drops. And for me, at least, I like that. And I'll admit too, like every once in a while, I've sort of said to someone is like, you may want to know a little detail. And sometimes people are like, no, just, I like to figure it out on my own. And in that case, I'm like, I will not talk about mechanics until they talk about mechanics. But for the most part, like, I think everybody kind of has an intuitive understanding of where the lines are. Like, I think for the most part, people kind of get where it goes. For sure. Well, one thing that's been interesting, too, is that every once in a while I'll hear that, particularly for stuff that's in early access, I'll hear something along the lines that it was helpful in terms of developing a game. Like obviously it's not custom designed for me. That's maybe a little too much to hope for. Well, not even hope really. It's not an ambition, but like obviously, like you can see how people can maybe sound a bit full of themselves to say that. But one bit of feedback that I have gotten actually is that it has been helpful in terms of getting an idea about how someone not immediately familiar with a title will react to it. Obviously, I have sometimes a unique way of thinking, to put it diplomatically, but I still think it's I still think the principle holds that it can be interesting sometimes to see how someone kind of sorts through a problem. Queen Bellasunu the New has started a new ambition: control 10 cities. Queen Kashaya the Good, governor of Babylon, has died in office. So we'll choose a new governor, and that's going to be Bellasunu. Well, possibly. I mean, it may be... So we would lose a little bit of money off of that. Although the bonus to science, I think, more than makes up for it. We actually have a lot of candidates. So Gemty actually may be the better candidate. I don't know. We've always had the ruler govern Babylon, though. So before we go too much further, let's just see. Hang on, so I have governors for all these cities? Really? Okay, I'm gonna need to put a little more thought into the buildings that I build. Now, oh, actually, we are much closer to that 10 city ambition than I thought. So, we get 2 kind of for free based on my existing conquests. I'm trying to remember. I think I said I was going to make this a Kassite. So by extension, this would be an Amorite city. Okay. One too many settlers, it looks like. That's not so good for me. Okay, well, we'll put this one to sleep. Ah, yes. Okay, now I need to think about... There's a few things I should be trying to go for now. So for some, I should be trying for farms to deal with this reduction in the food rate. This city in particular, though, is good for wood production. So I'm actually going to build a lumber mill first. I'm slightly more inclined to build a garrison here. Like, it's not bad to have the extra stone in the quarries and such, but we need a garrison for governors. I gotta make a decision on my chariot. So the one thing I'm worried about with the chariot is that they will be sort of poked to death before I can really make a big hit. So first things first, let's get the axemen to do their thing. Yeah, let's see if we can make things happen with my other military units first. Slowpokes. I would like to move this unit if I can, but it's not the first move I want to make. Oof. All right. Okay, well, it's clear we're not going to have any fights happening on the border, so I'm just going to heal up the chariot. Both of these are in the wood, so I'm going to minimize the damage from the Assyrian archers, and then I'll just got to be able to turn the chariot around and whop one of them. Okay, we don't need you. I want to move the archer first. And then production. Okay. I'm trying to get an idea of what the bonus... So both of these seem to give the same bonus of 24... 24 additional wealth. Okay. Oh. Let's see what the next turn... Oh, actually, sorry. Let's see how the families are feeling. So, I kind of doubt the existence of Gauls at this point. Like, I think it normally says whether or not they have any cities. So at this point, I have a suspicion that the Gauls are gone. Hey, Olaf, great to see you. No coffee. I had my coffee earlier, and I'm going to try and get a proper bedtime tonight, but I'm enjoying... I don't know, it's green, it looks like dried vegetation, it smells funny. Green tea, I believe it's called. Thank you very much, Olaf. Yeah, first of all, I was really happy to catch you in the on the broadcast. It was actually nice. I regret that I didn't get a chance to see you and Ari play. Well, and Alpha, but who cares about Alpha, right? I somewhat regret not being able to catch more of the playthrough, or even participate in more of the playthrough, really. But there's definitely a point where it was kind of clear that I would not be adding value as a participant. But I'm actually really happy that we got a chance to see the end of the session. So I'm interested in seeing what's happening on the end here. So again, the worry would just be that the Assyrians are going to throw a bunch of archers at my people. Oh. I will confess a little bit of surprise about the scout. I guess they built something under the scout, so... Duke Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate, your relative, is now on the road to recovery and is no longer severely ill. Patriarch Kudur Inil the Younger has died. Matriarch Damkitam the Younger is now head of Babylonian paganism. Their opinion of me has now gone from cautious to please. General Gandesh the Wanton, General the Warrior, has died in the field, and Jemti the Scientist has converted to Babylonian paganism. So we do have two sort of competing religious forces in the Empire. But let's work on the training first. Again, just a reminder that in this game, if you have an opportunity to get a boost, if you do not take it, it's gone for good. So my default is usually to take the boost whenever I can. General Gandesh the Wanton, General the Warrior, has died in the field. So we'll choose a new general. That's going to cost us some... Actually, first thing we're going to do is move them into the region. We actually have a few options here, to be honest. I'll add Nebuchadnezzar the Younger. Oh, that's right. I was going to see if I could find a family tree. There we are. Here's my family. So, Nebopolisar, who I do not believe is somebody who we could play. I think this is this predates King Nebuchadnezzar. Also, for some reason, I called him Nebuchadnezzar II, but I believe it was just Nebuchadnezzar. In any case, he died Nebuchadnezzar the Glorious at age 62. We passed the throne on to Queen Kashaya, who died at 65. Queen Kashaya the Good, so not exactly the Glorious, but she was a schemer too, so you know. So then we move on, and we are currently playing... Where are we? Queen Belisunu, who was the daughter of... So we had a son, Kuraglazu, who I suppose died early. And so in our case... Oh yes, I think I remember now. So yes, it did sort of skip. Fortunately, we've got Hammurabi and Zakiti for the line of succession. I'm maybe a little worried. It doesn't look like Duke Abi Ratash has any children. Yeah, so if something happened, like if the tree kind of gets snipped here, we might be a little bit worried. But I'm hoping that we just pass things on normally. Okay, I think I'm going to focus on. Okay, this is going to seem like a really inefficient way to move my unit. It's going to cost a lot of points, but it is going to protect me from the archers. So in this case, we'll force march it. So it might bring us close to a big hit, but not quite enough to take us out. All right. Again, I want to try and get units in the fight as early as I can. I might even be willing to spend some points to do that. Maybe not. Enablers. A troupe of exotic performers stops in Ashuna to entertain the people. During a short visit to the palace, the dancers and poets offer their other, more unique services to those who wish to indulge themselves. Do you dare enjoy the revels? So this is because my discipline is less than or equal to -1, so less than 0. So, I desire men and women of pleasure! This will get me extra charisma. I will become debauched. As a governor, this will increase discontent. And of course, as a leader, this will increase discontent across all cities. Also, one of my governors will be unhappy because they're righteous. Wine, wine, and more wine! So this would make me drunk. It will give me some extra food, but it will further decrease my discipline. Alternatively, nothing they can offer is of interest to me. Oh, dang! And then it makes me miserable. Yikes. Okay. Becoming drunk is the least bad of the options right now. So I just want to take a second to... Oh, nuts! If I can load back the previous turn, I actually wanted to move that scout and I completely forgot about it. Sorry, I don't normally like rolling back saves like this, but... Okay, actually, first of all, I want to see the... Kettle. I could swear that I've heard this song in Civilization before. I'm just going to go back to the main menu and... Are you a Civ fan, Tikri? Actually, this would be a good question to ask in general, how many Civ fans there are, because I realize, like, what's funny is one of the earlier broadcasts that I did for Extra Life, like one of the first things I ever did was an interview with a classics professor over Civilization 5. And I'm a huge fan of the Civilization series. But it's occurred to me I haven't actually played a lot of Civ 6. I think the closest I ever got was playing the Battle Royale mode in Civ 6, which is very fun, by the way. Like, definitely give that a shot if you haven't. But obviously, that's a very unique experience. That's not necessarily what you think of when you think of Civ. But Civ and Caesar got you into PC games. Interesting. One of the reasons I'm asking this is you played quite a bit of 5, and then you got 6 in the Humble Choice, so you played a bunch of that too. So this is going to sound very furry. So there's always a danger whenever you talk about sort of political stuff, but one thing I've always been uncomfortable with in terms of streaming is the sort of performative type of correct thinking, right? So I think it's kind of fair to say that most of the opinions that I've expressed, maybe other than economic opinions, tend to be ones that I think people would categorize as like on the right side of history, or you know, one of the good people or whatever. If you are on certain types of the internet, or certain parts of the internet, some might say woke. And I think one of the things that is, I guess for me, a little bit of a worry sometimes is that it can just, because there's like a reward for that, you know, it ceases to be about the inherent merits of that position. Is a little bit more about sort of pandering or trying to sort of ride the coattails of, you know, a cause that isn't necessarily mine to lay any kind of a claim to. But that also shouldn't be an excuse for avoiding, you know, a particular position or a particular view. But one thing that I do kind of allow for myself is to try and express, because like the thing is that I also remember a time in the stream when people would take these fairly hard right figures, and like there was an assumption that I really liked people like that. So I don't know exactly what it was about me that kind of came off as sort of an alt-rightish kind of person, but I can remember a few people mentioning that, and like eventually it's like, oh, that's fine, I forgive you for not liking it. I'm like, well, I'm not looking for your forgiveness for not liking this guy, right? Like, this is, you know, my opinions are my own. It's not really your place to forgive me or give me permission for liking or disliking someone. But I became a little bit conscious of the fact that, at least for a while, there was a certain perspective that I thought was quite contrary to what I would kind of consider to be cherished beliefs for me that I was coming across. And what I try and do is, where I can, is to build that bridge of empathy, right? So, for instance, as far as my demographics, I realize you can't tell this from a voice, but, you know, I will hit every single boring category that you can imagine, right? Stale, male, and pale, I think, is the concise way of putting it. And obviously, you know, I have a certain level of education. Like, a lot of games are sort of made for me, and I maybe do not have that experience of sort of feeling underrepresented inside of games. I'm not going to say most people in games look like me, because I should be so lucky to be, you know, I'm very skinny, right? I'm never going to look like a video game protagonist. They're considerably better, in considerably better shape than me. I mean, not that I'm out of shape. Okay, I don't get why that scout is dying. So I'm just going to move him right back. I guess... Oh, hang on. No, I know why. It's because the character's not a schemer anymore. So if you're not a schemer, you don't get invisible units. My apologies. I really screwed that up. Anyway, sorry, there was a point I was trying to make. But yeah, so one of the things that I try to do is where I can is I try and bridge that gap of understanding. Because, like, obviously, we've all been on YouTube. We all know, like, that type of gamer YouTube channel, and it bugs me. Because I think one of the problems is that it's just, like, it's a type of commentary that seems to be driven by the fact that anytime someone or something new shows up in a game, it's just another example of sort of the indie mob slowly ruining games or whatever. And it's always discouraging to sort of see that sort of stuff. So one of the silly, but I think, like, resonant examples for me is what happened in Civ 6 when they finally added Canada. Because I'm sure you can imagine there are very few games that actually have Canada as, like, a major power that you can play. There are some which are really focused on, like, letting you play everything. So, for instance, Hearts of Iron 4, you know, you get to play all of the Commonwealth countries. So if you want, you can play Canada. But it's obviously not going to be the same as playing, like, Germany or the United States, right? But I remember how happy I was in the case of Civilization 6, where it wasn't just a game that I got to play, and I got to play sort of this, you know, historical empire. So chances are I'm going to play Rome at least once in any given Civilization game. I remember when the very first time I played Civilization, I was fascinated with Egypt, and I always wanted to play Egypt. But instead, it was a chance for me to play my country in my favorite game. And I was, like, so beside myself with happiness in terms of being able to do that. So, you know, where I can. Now, again, I'm not going to try and pretend that this is suddenly going to drop the scales from some, you know, internet jackass's eyes and, you know, all of a sudden they're going to be able to say, you know what, women are just people too. And maybe it's not so bad that, you know, they have, you know, there's women soldiers in Battlefield 5 or something like that. But at least for me, in terms of being able to say, you know, why does this stuff matter? Like, why does representation matter inside of games? There is a side of discourse that sort of says you can never know what it's like to be me, right? You only have your background, and, you know, there's never going to be able to bridge that. And I'm not 100% on board with that kind of thinking, right? I do think that it's important to try and build those connections. And as trivial as it might sound, I do think it's little moments like that where you're able to sort of realize, and again, like I said, I am very well represented in terms of games, but the fact that I can get really happy over something like I'm finally able to play Canada in Civ, and it's not a mod, if that can make me so happy, then I have to assume that for someone whose common gaming experience is to play things that are maybe not, you know, as familiar to them, or maybe they don't see themselves in, you know, for that I have to assume that I can take that feeling and sort of extrapolate even further. Now again, I don't necessarily need to be told that that's a good thing. I was kind of on side, but it's an experience I can relate to, and it's something that hopefully, you know, people can chill out from maybe the meaner stuff. You can never pick a leader, you always choose random. Well, if you ever do get around to playing Canada in Civ 6, once you get to the modern age, it has got the most patriotic version of "O Canada" you will ever hear. Like, a maple tree will erupt from the center of your room and spray maple syrup everywhere as Mounties, you know, kind of do the log driver's waltz, and a red and white flag flows in the background, and a flying V of Canada geese comes out of nowhere. But even the earlier stages are good. But yeah, no, like, I pretty much I have to physically restrain myself from, like, standing at attention when they get to the finished version of of O Canada. The Australian one's actually pretty good too. Like even if you're in the industrial era Australia, they don't actually do the Australian national anthem, but they do Waltzing Matilda. And like when you hit the industrial age, it is probably the most militaristic version of Waltzing Matilda I've ever heard. It's like, oh god, the Australians are coming. Hide your hide your valuables. Obviously, this particular one predates all of the. Sorry, I'm talking about a totally different game than this, but there's no Canadian angle I can get for Babylonia, Carthage, Assyria, or Rome. NPC 421th of your first of your name. Thank you very much for following. All right, Zoroastrianism has an established Enlightenment theology. Carthage declares war on Assyria, and I have given birth to a daughter, Duchess Lamasani. World Tour. Players from our finest dramatists have been touring friendly cities across the world. Now other nations clamor for more enriching cultural works from their own artists. Envoys from Carthage arrive in court, hoping to learn from our masters. Are we willing to share the secrets of drama? So we desire knowledge for knowledge. For that, we would acquire a random technology. Yes, but hold our first festival in Babylon. So Carthage gets drama, we gain legitimacy and culture. So both of those are actually pretty strong, although I think Babylon's already a fairly strong cultural hub. And then we say our great works should stay in Babylonia. So this would damage the relationship with Carthage. But it would give us culture in all our cities, which is actually not a bad that's not a bad option. I suppose the one thing I would say though is that I'm already generating a lot of science. Now you know what? Let's get the next random technology, and we've gained manor. Okay. So let's start by founding the city. We said this was going to be for the Amorites because the Kassites are going to get this city. What are those scheming Romans up to? That was not a dumb... Oh, sorry, that was not a smart move. Oh, there is so much for me to do. I think at some point I had somebody on their way to build a road here. Anyways, I do need the food, so... Although not all of that is necessarily going to get me food. Yeah, I'm spending so much effort to... I'm spending so much effort to move my... get my workers in place that nothing else is happening. Okay, so the usual story here is... So I've actually generally started with a worker, but I'm actually going to change it around a little bit because we are running short on orders. So we'll start with a treasury. Then we'll go for the worker. After that, we'll kind of play it by ear. Opus also wants production. So it looks like we've already got... So I think what might have happened was I shifted one worker over here where they should have been focusing on what Opus could be doing. So here it's actually a little harder to decide what I want. Let's start by building a forum. I haven't actually been building a lot of those, but I don't think it's bad to have. And this is just largely because I neglected improvements in this region, so I need to move my worker to sort of get going on these other necessities. But yeah, the big problem here is that, like, I've let 2 years of the legacy go by, and we haven't been moving the army a whole lot. Alright, looks like we lost that chariot after all. Reports of a tribal raid from a Gallic encampment near Uruk. Okay, so that gives me something to think of. And Free War Elephant, gonna take it. Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate, General the Archer, is too old and is retired from the field, so we'll assign a new general. Get a free promotion here. I don't think I'm going to be able to seal the deal with that attack, but... Or sorry, with that unit. I would, however, like to focus a little bit more on moving my military. Otherwise, we're just simply never going to get the job done. All right, so this unit, I guess it's because I assigned the general. Fair enough. This one I'd actually like to upgrade to an archer. Now, what's it going to cost me, though? Normally, it'll tell me what it costs resource-wise. So I can hit Alt to pay for the wood, but I'd actually like to know the financial cost. Oh, there we go. 567. I don't hate it. I'll at least get a move in. A wild night. The party is in full swing. The orgy is reaching its climax. The wine fountain has run dry and has been refilled twice already. You are contemplating calling for your leather hood when Hanby approaches you entirely naked. Hanby is my mother-in-law. Hey! I say, Belisunu, she exclaims. This is the best party I've been to in years. Thank you ever so much. You grin and reply, think nothing of it, and return to your contemplation. Before you can reach any conclusion, you are distracted by the sight of Beltum Remeni downing cup after cup of wine with single-minded determination. Since she looks to be having so much fun, you decide to join her. Requires that Queen Belisunu is carnal, and I can resist anything except temptation. Oh, hang on, Hanby of Sika is a Carthaginian. And apparently is an early ancestor of Hannibal. All right. Beltum Remeni of Mardad hosted a wonderful party, plus 30 opinion. Certainly the best party this week. Well, I suppose there's some bonuses to drunken debauchery. I gotta try and decide of these units, like which ones do I want to... Hey, what are you doing in my territory? Okay, we finished Walls in a Knot. I am slightly inclined towards the Stonecutter, but maybe the Acolyte for the culture. Nope, actually treasury first. Okay, Borsippa. I think same logic. Treasuries give us... Actually, no, sorry, that wasn't the right call. Because the existence of the treasury gives us the culture. I don't believe the higher level treasury necessarily gives me any more culture than before. That's fine. More money gives us a chance to buy the stuff that we need. Okay. Excuse me. Again, got to make some decisions in terms of where my priorities are for my workers. Okay, definitely I'd like wood. And we'll end the... Yeah, we'll end the year. I may neglect some of the infrastructure for the next little while just so we can make a move on Assyria proper. And that's actually going to be something where my... that might be something where my scout can become useful. So the oracle has been completed by Assyria. Hanbi of Sika, my mother-in-law, has died, hopefully not at the orgy. And Melishipak the Younger has converted to Babylonian paganism. New type of animal discovered. Scientists in Babylon claim to have discovered a new species of frog in the rivers of the city. These small, colorful creatures are said to thrive in captivity. What shall we do with them? We can sell them to the wealthy as exotic pets. That'll give us a decent amount of cash. We are the treasury's kind of hurting now, but I mean, it's to be expected with my, my leader. Send an expedition to learn more about them. So that's, again, piling on even more science. Or leave this matter to the locals in Babylon, which would give us additional experience. I think we'll, again, continue to double down on our science. And looks like we get to pick a new technology, so you already know what I'm going to do. That's a freebie. One thing I can do is take a look at... So in the draw pile, there's a goods boost battle line, and then in the discard pile, that will shuffle in navigation, portcullis, and bodcanero. So it's possible that we might actually get yet another freebie. Sorry, I'm going to build a grove because... Oh, no, sorry. Citrus I don't think is relevant. Oh, no. No, sorry. That's honey, not... Okay, yeah. No, that's not actually helpful to me. I do want to finish off the archer. Okay, so this is going to be a unit that needs to heal. Now, there's a tricky business here of trying to navigate... So basically what I want to have happen... I want to move my scout in such a way that they don't get killed, but that I'm able to sort of cover the distance. I basically want to be able to find the best route of attack into Assyria. I could kind of go out and around like this, but I actually think going through the Roman territories might be a little more effective for me. So I'm going to force march and move them into the woods here. If their borders expand, I'm screwed, but otherwise this should be fine. I'm definitely not opposed to attacking Mardaman if that's what's required, but the hope here is that I'm going to be able to move my scout in such a way that I can get a little more intelligence on the best path. Okay. Again, there's tons of stuff that I can be doing with my different characters, but I need to focus on expanding. So hopefully the Kassites are a bit happier with me. Yes, they are. Kassites will also be able to take advantage of the dyes, and in turn I will be able to grant dyes to the Chaldeans. Okay, again, wood's good to have, so... I do, however, want to start moving my forces into the field. That's not the right call. What I should be doing is I should be moving... What I need to be doing is moving my I need to be moving my military units, like the ones that are currently behind. I need to move them closer to the fight. I also have an elephant somewhere. Oh, right here. Okay, so Rome declared a surprise war on me. So, this is inconvenient, but I may actually be able to capture Roma off of this. Rome has declared war on us. Carthage is now at a truce with the Gauls. Ariba the Schemer has converted to Babylonian paganism, and Sabian of Borsippa has died. Attacked by a bear, 2 overturned wagons are discovered in a clearing, their goods scattered across the grass. A Greek woman and her children weep over a dead body. The survivors claim that a bear attacked them without warning. Greece contacted. So we could escort the survivors to the nearest settlement, provide the settlers with a guide but send our people on, or promise to notify the settlement. No, we'll escort them to the nearest. Sword of Damocles. Reports start to filter in from merchants and farmers at the edge of your nation that Roman soldiers have been raiding the lands and killing your people. A dignitary arrives in the midst of the confusion without warning, announcing that Rome has declared war on you. How shall we respond? Definitely recruit new soldiers. We need to replace the axemen. And in this case, we're pretty much abandoning any plans to we're basically abandoning any plans to do infrastructure. In this case, I need to start delivering some heavy hits. So one thing I can do is try and make life a little easier for me, and we can take out. Zone of control. Well, that's inconvenient. I think in this case we will force march the elephant. But yeah, so this is a case here now where I would love to be doing other things with my army right now, but I need to deliver the hurt. So I'm pretty sure this archer is dead. I'm going to force march this guy, though, and see. Yeah, well, we'll go down fighting. This is definitely a case where I'll pay up for the... Oop. Pay up for the archer upgrade. Yeah, I definitely want to be moving more units in, but we're not quite at a point where we can do that. So what I kind of want to try and do is clear out some of the riffraff in the middle here. One thing right now, the focus really is just about not losing units, and then any leftovers we're going to sort of lay siege to Roma with. Because again, we can actually achieve 2 ambitions if we claim Rome. And we will assign a governor next turn. Okay, I'm a little surprised this thing's still standing, but I'm sure they'll get mopped up soon enough. You are now known as Belanesu the Mason. Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate has died. Man, his portrait definitely looks really different as he's older. And Palatum the Superstitious has died. Like father, like son, rumor has it that, for better or worse, Prince Hammurabi is showing signs of taking after his father, King Consort Sin Mubalit. How this influence will take shape is yet to be seen. Here's looking at you, kid. Prince Hammurabi becomes romantic. The victims of the bear attack are delivered safely to a settlement of their nation, Greece. The village leader thanks our people for their kindness, and we get a +20, express a desire to cooperate in the future, and we become affable for extra growth, or offer to set up trade between our two nations. So we would be giving up some food in exchange for cash. Not terrible, but I think I'm going to say let's cooperate in the future. Okay, Belisunu is you and governor of Babylon. So let's, it'd be nice to get the extra courage, but I think in this case, let's try and even out some of that lack of discipline. A time to kill, consequences. Disastrous news. King Remut Adad, the architect of Assyria, has discovered we were behind the death of his predecessor. Needless to say, he's extremely upset and has sworn vengeance against us. The High Synod. Ambassador Nabopolassar believes that we can reach religious concord with the Jews through gathering their religious leaders at a high synod. Shall we approve his plan to reach out to the Jews? I would like to improve relation with the Jews through the high synod mission, or this is not the way I wish to conduct relation. No, we'll definitely do the mission. Okay, so first of all, I can take out an elephant. I'm actually a little weirded out, so it doesn't seem like this is going to kill the elephant, which is a problem. Nope, it killed it. Never mind. So this is a tricky one simply because, like, axemen are pretty good against spears, but it does open me up to some retaliation from the slingers. Sorry, there's a slightly different way I want to handle this. Okay, we're still not going to be able to take it out. So I can't leave Murad undefended. I am going to have to deal with the Roman units and then move on Roma. Oh, now I thought this elephant would actually move forward. That's a little surprising. Okay. Everybody wants a governor. All right. I'm a little worried about the drop in civics, but I'm learning to live with disappointment. And for Anat, let's go. Yikes. A lot of unhappiness. Okay, so I've got 14 orders to work with. And again, I can't really afford to be putting this into infrastructure. So as usual, we'll start by, in this case, it's pretty much all hands on deck in terms of moving the units. Anything left over can go towards infrastructure. I'm debating on how I'm going to handle the slingers here. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to start by moving the sword units in place. Now, this may not work for me, but it does give me a chance to sort of chase away the Romans a bit. I'm noticing we don't have a lot of friends in the world right now, so I probably need to work even harder at getting the at like bulking up my army. So Assyria counts as stronger. Yeah, we should probably try and line up with Carthage, but that's going to require some heavy diplomatic lifting. So the AI might focus down my axe unit, which is a problem. That's scary. Oh yeah, that was really dumb of me to move out like that. This is actually kind of clever of the AI to move its like its polearm unit back like that. You're now known as Belisunu the Learned. News arrives from Carthage. King Carle the Ambitious of Carthage is dead. The new ruler, King Osmek the New of Carthage, has taken the throne. Their opinion of you is now upset. Ebelsin Borsippa has converted to Babylonian paganism, and King Dowager Su Abu, your in-law, has died. Okay, goods boost, pretty much automatically go for the boosts. So, as always, the question is, how do we basically get stuff done? Okay, I can feel happy about a panic. So I really want to kill this polearm unit. The rest of this is just trying to get units in to push back the invaders. I could try and charge some people, but not quite the done thing yet. Now, I'm really at a loss about how to handle Uruk and Kisura. Like 10 years for a for a unit. It probably actually would have been smarter to redirect some of my units. And then of course there's raiders, which are going to be moving on Kisura. I think we just, honestly, we need to batten down the hatches and hope that they don't go too hard on Uruk. And we probably just need to redirect forces to try and clear them out. My better strategy is probably to just try and really hurt Roma and see if we can get an easy peace out of this before they claim a city off of me. I'm too spread out, basically, is the problem. Okay. I need to find... Trying to decide if the Spearman or the Axeman's the smarter choice. Let's do one Spearman. King Osmelech the New of Carthage. News reaches you from abroad that your fellow ruler, King Carle the Ambitious of Carthage, is dead, finally succumbing to a festering wound. King Osmelech the New of Carthage has ascended to rule Carthage. He has been elected by the noble houses to serve as king in Carle's footsteps, leading the people and the Senate of Carthage into a new age. A position in your personal honor guard has become available. Rival candidates from the Kassite and Amorite families have both come forward to petition for the opening. Which shall we choose? So we can make nice. The Kassites we could use a little more love, but that will come at the cost of Amorite opinion. Or we can continue our search, which is tempting. I think in this case, though, we can afford a bit of a ding to the Amorites in exchange for making nice with the Kassites. Okay, so we're sort of back to the old question of what improvements do I build? I'm not opposed to starting the pyramids right now, but is this the best thing I can be doing with my time? Well, it does give me more orders, so... Okay, $11 is so long to wait. Yeah, this is looking kind of grim. Alright, let's end the year and see what happens. I'm particularly interested in what happens down here. Assyria is now at war with the Gauls. Oligarch Inishu of Babylon has died. Oligarch Melulatum the Younger is now head of the Chaldean family, and Puri has converted to Judaism. Okay. Still waiting to see what happened off of that peace envoy to the Assyrians. Got another elephant to deal with. That's going to be scary. We also don't have any pole arms to sort of improve things. Okay, I'm gonna heal up the elephant. Again, focus is going to be on the Romans. We might be able to get a peace with the Assyrians if we get lucky. So, look, I'm going to admit, I don't feel like super stoked about going toe-to-toe with an elephant, but we've got a lot of ranged units right now. So just keep lobbing missiles at it. Oh, actually, sorry. Let me pull that back. Minor adjustment to the approach. Just gives me a chance to do a good hit. Now, that does mean I'm kind of giving up on Uruk, but I think the idea here is that I do the damage that I can up here so that I can redirect my forces back down to the sort of the colonies. The other thing that I could try and do, maybe this is... Right, I can't hurry because it's not the right culture type. Okay, yeah, no, we really just need to sit and hope that we can hold long enough. Okay, so with 4 actions left, what else can we do? We actually need iron more than anything. This is a Kassite area, so the barracks makes slightly more sense for my military focus. I wouldn't complain about more stone, but let's maybe... All right, let's see what the next turn brings. God, the Romans just have endless numbers of units here. I think they've surrounded the swordsman. We really got clobbered there. I am gonna go pretty hard on that elephant. I really want to take it out. So this is partly the consequence of me not moving that scout. Alright, reports of a tribal raid from a Gallic encampment near Kisura. The Gauls have converted to Zoroastrianism. Their opinion of me has gone from cautious to upset. The High Synod, organized by Ambassador Nabopolassar, has improved your standing with the clergy. Etu of Anat has died. Kashtilash has converted to Babylonian paganism, which again is actually it's spreading faster than Judaism. And Prince Hammurabi is now old enough to be tutored by courtiers. Time passes quickly. Prince Hammurabi is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate him? So we will study philosophy. This is normally what we've done with our rulers. Of course, philosophy hasn't necessarily helped us on the battlefield. Huh. So where the hell did the elephant go? There's nowhere we can find it. Sorry, this is such a cheat to look at. I really should stop doing that. Trying to get a little bit of an edge for my elephant here. I can't really afford to have it take too much damage. My view here is if I can just hold off... hold off the worst up in the north here. Then we redirect our attention to Rome. Volunteers. In an act of solidarity, citizens of Murad are volunteering in droves. They wish to show their local pride. We can command them to work or fight. So they should engage in hard labor or they should take up arms. Definitely happy to get another axeman. And we're able to deploy that right away. So in this case, I'm actually going to use it against the slinger. I would have liked to move it up here, but it's just, this is too crowded, so... Murad, I think... So I do have the citizens to build more stone cutters. I could actually also buy up gardener... Oh, actually, sorry, let's buy some extra food. We'll just buy 100 at the current rate. So yeah, again, we've not put a lot of effort into our military matters, so it actually takes us a long time to build this stuff. I think I'm going to start building a few more spearmen. Now this is a Kassite settlement, so definitely it makes sense to build archers here. And as always, my first priority should be military units, although I'm not going to worry as much about... Oh, I can upgrade. Cool. Conscript may be a better idea here. And I should have tutored Hammurabi. Okay, still have 7 orders left. So one thing I've noticed is I've kind of broken this rule that I had about one worker per region. I'm trying to get that balance back. Definitely want to build the grove. So the reason I want to build the grove is just so I can keep the Amorites happy. And what do I want to do with one? Well, we can move them away from the front line. I suppose that's progress of a kind. So I think what's going to wind up happening here is the Romans, just because of their strength... Well, now they're similar strength, so maybe we'll see the end of this. But I think because of the Roman strength, we may be facing sort of these unending hordes, which stop me from... Ooh, spears on the camels. That's not good. But yeah, they may be in a position to sort of tie us up long enough to stop us from making a serious move on Rome. And it does look like they're going pretty hard after Uruk. This is encouraging, though. Governor Amel Marduk the Younger, governor of Marad, has died in office. Ublanu of Ashuna has converted to Babylonian paganism, and Duchess Zakiti is now old enough to be tutored by courtiers. All right, time passes quickly. Duchess Zakiti is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate her? So Zakiti is second in line now. We can't have more than one philosophy student in the family, and it looks like war is sort of... So normally what I've done is I've trained the... I've sort of trained the people who are less likely to be rulers in sort of the general roles. But in this case, I'm actually going to get them to study tactics. Death of a governor. Governor Amel Marduk the Younger has died in office. So we'll... This is Murad. If I can avoid the discontent... Oof. Yeah, we do not have a lot of options here. Okay, this is gonna get complicated. No, that was actually a stupid thing for me to do. Okay, so I got to make sure that I plug the hole here. Okay, this is, again, a real dilemma. So, like, there's one side of me which says rush the swordsman down to Uruk. But I think I'm actually going to push... I'm going to push matters in Rome. Also, going to the coast is silly because they can attack me from there. This should be fine, though. Although they're going to kick my ass. So, okay, now Babylon needs to start making some special units. Wow, okay, so I don't have a stronghold in my capital. Yeah, I've really, like, I've been spending a lot of effort getting my workers running around, but my workers have been running around kind of assuming that peace will last forever. So I'm really far behind on some of the stuff that should be happening here. So I think, if I'm completely honest, I need... I probably need a decent melee unit more than I need anything else. Now, one thing I could try and do would be to try and hurry production. So why can't I do that in this case? Oh, we don't have the civics for it. Okay. But yeah, so I just don't see Uruk lasting 6 turns, to be honest. But yeah, at this point, basically every city is going to be focusing on military production. Well, a couple of exceptions. We do still need food, so... Okay, so I suppose the next question would be, do I have any military units that haven't moved yet? I guess there's the conscripts. All right, let's see how the Winter of Discontent continues. There should still be an elephant running around here somewhere. There it is. Oh, they're getting really close. I'm medium happy that they're spreading the attention because it gives me a longer time to build a defense. This is definitely going to get a bit scary. King Consort Sin Mubalit has fallen ill. Hammurabi comes to you after studying the text of the Curse of Agad, a fictional account of the fall of Akkadia and the death of the king. It is normal for students to transcribe the story onto clay stele as a writing practice, but the work has also sparked a philosophical struggle within Hammurabi. He asks if the hubris of a king will really lead to such destruction. As a leader, is it not right to take pride in your nation? Now, I can't remember if I've read this event or not, but I'm going to bring this up because this is one of the fun parts of Old World's events. So if it's not clear, if you get an event that has a little globe like this, you can click on it and it will give you a link. Now, I was under the impression it was always Wikipedia links, but they actually have a few different resources. So this is worldhistory.org. This is a somewhat long article, so I may not read the whole thing. But let's at least see a little bit of what's going on. So, well, I'll talk a little bit about. I've talked about this before, but I'll talk a little bit about the difference between this and the Civilopedia and a couple of opinions that I have about it. So, the Curse of Agade is a story dated to the Ur-3 period of Mesopotamia, 2047 to 1750 BCE. Though thought to be somewhat older in origin. It tells the story of an Akkadian king, Naram Sin, 2261 to 2224, and his confrontation with the gods, particularly the god Enlil. Naram Sin is considered the most important ruler of the Akkadian Empire after its founder, his grandfather Sargon the Great, 2334 to 2279 BCE. He enlarged the boundaries of the empire and increased it in power, prestige, and military strength. He and his grandfather became the subject of many tales and legends down through the centuries, and their stories were among the most popular throughout Mesopotamia. When King Ashurbanipal of Assyria collected his famous library at Nineveh in the 7th century BCE, he had brought to him all the written works that could be found throughout his empire, and these included the stories of the Akkadian kings. Incidentally, if you ever find yourself at a bridge and, you run into the old fellow and he says, you must answer me these questions 3 ere the other side you see, and what is your name, what is your quest, and if you were unlucky enough not to get the favorite color question, but instead, what is the capital of Assyria? There you go. Now you can cross to the other side safely. Background. The Curse of Agad is part of a Mesopotamian literary genre known as Naru literature, which features a famous person, usually for... Hey, Elgrins. You know, it's a nice little litmus test to see how many cultured people there are inside chat. The Curse of Agad is part of a Mesopotamian literary genre known as Naru literature, which features a famous person, usually a king from history, as the main character in a didactic tale, which most often concerned humanity's relationship with the gods. These tales are not historical, or at least would be considered quasi-historical. The story known as the Great Revolt, for example, is probably based on an uprising which took place early in Naram Sin's reign, but does not relate to those events factually, and the same is true of this tale, which has come to be known as the Kutha legend, also dealing with Naram Sin. Along with these tales and others, later generations would associate Naram Sin with the Curse of Agad. It tells the story of the destruction of the city of Akkad by the will of the gods owing to Naram Sin's impiety. This also very interestingly addresses the problem of seemingly meaningless suffering in its depiction of Naram Sin's attempt to wrest a reason for his misery from the gods by force. According to the text, a great Sumerian god, Enlil, withdrew his pleasure from the city of Akkad, and in so doing prohibited the other gods from entering the city and blessing it any longer with their presence. Naram Sin does not know what he could have done to incur this displeasure, and so prays, asks for signs and omens, and falls into a 7-year depression as he awaits for an answer from the god. Finally tired of waiting, and enraged that he has received no answer, he draws up his army and marches on Enlil's temple at the Ekur in the city of Nippur, which he destroys. He sets his spades against its roots, his axes against the foundations, until the temple, like a dead soldier, falls prostrate. Like the invention of a city 106. This attack, of course, provokes the wrath not only of Enlil, but the other gods who send the Gutium, a people who knew no inhibition with human instincts but canine intelligence and monkey features, 106, to invade Akkad and lay it waste. There's widespread famine after the invasion of the Gutians. The dead remain rotting in the streets and houses, and the city is a ruin, and so, according to the tale, ends the city of Akkad and the Akkadian Empire, a victim of one king's arrogance in the face of the gods. There is, however, no historical record of Naram Sin ever reducing the Ekur at Nippur by force, nor destroying the temple of Enlil, and it is thought that the Curse of Agad was a much later piece written to express an ideological concern for the right relationship between gods and the absolute monarch, whose author chose Akkad and Naram Sin as subjects because of their by then legendary status. According to the historical record, Naram Sin honored the gods and was actually quite pious. Naru literature was a very popular genre in Mesopotamia. However, and often, it seems the version of the past these stories presented came to be accepted as actual history. Although the Curse of Agad does address the proper relationship between the gods and the king, it also poses a problem regarding suffering and the will of the gods, which it never answers. Why did Enlil withdraw his pleasure from the city in the first place? And why, when Naram Sin petitions the gods for an answer for 7 years, does he receive none? The well-honed craft of the anonymous ancient writer is evident in the text, in that no answer is given to these questions, just as, in life, no answer is ever satisfactory in dealing with a reason for human suffering. Enlil withdraws his pleasure and protection from the city because he wants to. No other reason is given. This is a completely different scenario from the biblical book of Job, in which God allows Satan to destroy Job's life to win a bet. Enlil is under no such pressure and could have easily left Akkad alone to continue to flourish. Some scholars, such as Jeremy Black, have interpreted Enlil's displeasure as his refusal to acknowledge Naram Sin as the legitimate king. According to Black, Enlil invested Akkad with his grace under the reign of Sargon and would recognize the legitimacy of no other. According to the story, however, Naram Sin is in no position to know this. There is a bit more in the text, but I think we at least know we sort of know the gist of the story. Now, one thing, I've talked about this a little bit before, and one thing I kind of want to be clear about are differences as opposed to one thing being better or another. So One thing that I am very fond of I'm going to lurk and listen from bed. Have a great rest of the stream. Thank you very much, Tikri, and I hope you have a good rest. I hope my nonsense doesn't keep you up too much. But as always, thank you very much for hanging out and being a good sport. So one of the things that interests me, like some of my earliest gaming recollections are Civilization. It's maybe not the first game that I played, but it's definitely close to that. And there's two things that I think are really interesting and to me very important about Civilization. One is the very broad range of difficulty levels. So I was definitely playing Civilization before I had a really good idea of how the game worked, right? I was a kid. Pyramids are cool, you know. My parents were older, so generally if they were going to visit friends, there wouldn't be people for me to play with, but if there was a computer, I was really into those. So if Civilization's on a computer, I'm going to be happy. But one thing that's nice about the really easy difficulty levels in Civilization games is just generally if you want to push around units, the game will accommodate that. So like, if you play Alpha Centauri, for instance, on the easiest difficulty, you can kind of do whatever and have a chance at winning. And I think this is great, right? Because sometimes you don't want to have a hardcore, like a hardcore strategy experience. It's open enough for everyone. XCOM was your first strategy game. I learned hard that life was not fair and pain is life. Yeah, Alpha Centauri is a really wonderful game. I'm also one of these people who really like Beyond Earth, but I understand that is not a consensus opinion. I haven't really run into people who dislike Alpha Centauri, though. But yeah, there's something really interesting to me about how Civilization works. And it's the fact that... and I actually took a look into this. So it seems that Civilization has always had the Civilopedia, and the Civilopedia has always given you historical background about a unit in addition to the game's stats. And one thing I really like about the way the Civilopedia works is this. Like, so when I'm trying to graduate from just pushing units around to actually understanding this game, right? I'm a bit older. My parents are delighted that I want to play a game which is, on the surface educational, as opposed to something where, you're just shooting aliens or whatever. I'm gonna make a go of it. And when you learn the game, right, you can go and you can take a look in the Civilopedia, and you'll look up a unit, and you're going to see the stats for the unit right there. But lying on the same screen, and actually, let's say a month or two from now, actually, I don't know, it might be longer than a month or two, but some time from now, this particular story is going to make a little more sense, but I took a look into this. So the entry for the Hoplite in Civilization 6, almost 90% of the text in the Civilopedia for the Hoplite is actually dedicated to the history of the Hoplite as opposed to stats. And what I really like about the structure of the Civilopedia is that, if you build hoplites and you want to know about their stats, you want to know how good they are against cavalry and things like that, you can open it. You can ignore the history all you want. But it's also fair to say that as time goes by, right, as you continue to play, as things move on, you're probably going to get curious. And what I really liked about the Civilopedia is that the best time for knowledge transfer is going to be when you're curious. And so Civilization just has that lowest possible effort to let your curiosity take hold. And I've had a couple people, when I tell the story, a couple people sort of laugh at me for over attributing the importance of a civilization, but I really do mean it when I say that, like, the Civilization games, whether it's something like Alpha Centauri or whether it's the proper Civilization games, you know, I'm trying to remember if I've done any of the Microprose ones, because I know Alpha Centauri was Firaxis, and I think everything 3D was Firaxis as well. But anyways, you know, I do think it's fair to say that there was a lot of foundation that was laid in the Civilization games, officially or not. Kicknick, thank you very much for the follow. And that it took years, but eventually, when I had an opportunity to read some of the books that came up, something that the quote from these games had, you know, something that the games had referenced in terms of a quote or, you know, just a passage or whatever, it really sort of created this chain reaction to ultimately lead to the sorts of things that caused me to take certain electives in university. In fact, go to university in the first place. So I'm interested, and I like what Old World does as well. So obviously this is a more modern touch. In this case here, Old World does not take the time to put the history inside its manual, its guide, help screen. In this case, what it will do is it will have events, and it will give you an option to say, do you want to know more about what inspired this event? You can click this button here. And I like this touch too. It does give you an opportunity to learn other things. I'm still a little bit partial to the Civilization way of doing things, just because it's a little bit like when you're going through a library. It's actually one reason I like still physically going to libraries as opposed to signing out books electronically, even if over the last couple of years we've definitely been doing more along the lines of digital reading. And it's because when you go to a library, you know, think about searching in a library versus searching Google. When you're on Google, it's really good, right? You usually find exactly what you're looking for. When you go to a library, you don't. You walk by a bunch of stuff that you're not necessarily interested in. But every once in a while, and maybe even more than once in a while, you walk by a section and something catches your eye. Maybe it's a book about art. Maybe it's a book about music. It could be a J.G. Ballard novel, right? There's tons of different things that you could put, you know, you can put in your place there, because everybody's different, right? Everybody's going to be attracted to different things. We absolutely judge books by their cover, right? It's the first thing you notice. You can't help but do that. So the one thing that I kind of like about the way that Civilization does it is that, again, at that moment where, you know, you've looked up the Hoplite for the 10th time, you're like, what was a Hoplite? Like, why was that important? What is the story about these things? And in the case of Old World, there are two sort of different paths, right? So in this case, it's a link to the thing that inspired this event. And so this is an opportunity to say, do you want to know what this thing's really talking about? You can click on that here. And that still is allowing your curiosity to go. But in this case, you're definitely making sort of a choice. And you're saying is like, okay, I'm going to click the link and I'm going to go and read this website for this inspiration. Whereas in Civilization, sort of your eye sort of moves down the screen and all of a sudden you got caught, right? The game tricked you into learning something. So like I said, I don't want to try and suggest like one is necessarily better than the other. I think I have a very fond attachment to what Civilization meant for me specifically, and I have to realize that that's largely because Old World didn't exist. And so perhaps I would have learned differently, or my interests would have been different if I had, if Old World had sort of existed when I was getting into this stuff. But with that in mind, like I do actually really like the way that Old World has handled this. And I think it's appropriate to Old World because, again, there's so much of an emphasis on character and, you know, the fact that you're not just sort of this social planner building things up, or that the world doesn't just always bend to your will, but instead there are actual sort of events and there are sort of intentions and plans. the fact that you're able to add another layer to these events by sort of understanding specifically what they're referring to, I also think is something nice. And it particularly makes these events more resonant because you really understand what they're referring to. Ulgrin says they've always had education, even if it's minimal. They've snuck things here and there all the time. Yep, and even in Alpha Centauri, they had the future leaders quoting all kinds of past books, passages, and people. Not just the future leaders, but my first exposure to Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, possibly Aristotle. Those are three. I mean, it's also fair to say that at least the first two are very talented writers. And so the first philosophy that I read was definitely inspired by Alpha Centauri, and it was enough to get me into it. So then eventually I moved on to things like history of Western philosophy, like the Bertrand Russell survey. And again, everybody has their own way where they get into these things. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really smart choice. You know, now that I can view it with hindsight, that Alpha Centauri, a game about the future, decided to seat its tech and its kind of its worldview in philosophy, because, you know, how do you handle the future? It's the future. We haven't experienced it yet. So, oh, I should actually read the manual. Anyways, we're talking about Old World, so I'll move on to that for now. But I've got Alpha Centauri on GOG, so I should take a look at the manual. Okay, Hammurabi comes to you. I'm going to read this again just because we now are familiar with the text. Hammurabi comes to you after studying the text of The Curse of the God, a fictional account of the fall of Acadia and the death of the king. It is normal for students to transcribe the story onto clay stele as a writing practice, but the work has also sparked a philosophical struggle within Hammurabi. He asks if the hubris of the king will really lead to such destruction. As a leader, is it not right to take pride in your nation? If you are strong enough, then pride is not a weakness. Now this is, so it's nice to get the legitimacy, but remember, this is the philosopher. So in this case, we will say, heed the warnings of the text, the proud become blind and will always fall. So this does draw down my legitimacy, which I don't normally like doing, but in this case, it's aligned with some stats that I want my people to have. Okay, I got lucky with the axe, so we're going to do a quick heal here. Shockingly, my sword unit has survived. Wow! I was not expecting that outcome. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. So I'm force marching this just because we can kill a slinger. All right. So the real key here is I want to disrupt things enough so that they can't... like, we kind of have them on the ropes in Roma right now. So if I can avoid these ranged units from focusing my units too much, I can really start messing with the capital. Remember, we've only got 9 years to seize the capital to get the objective, so... Okay. It pains me to do so, but I'm actually going to heal the elephant here. I don't understand. Oh, because I'm not in friendly territory. So Rome currently counts as similar. So Syria still counts as stronger. I'm wondering... Well, I don't have the resources for it now, but things are looking really bad in Uruk. So I will pay up for the archer. And Ashuna, What family owns this? Okay, so it actually makes sense to go for a woodcutter here. I would have liked to have done a military unit, but actually this is one where I can rush a unit, so this is gonna sting, but we're gonna do the chariot. Oh, but I don't have the well, I'll have the civics next turn though. So look, this is gonna suck for a little bit, but it buys me time, and this is what I need right now, so. So one thing that's nice is we've got a ton of archers that are just gonna bombard Roma forever. Yikes! Uruk is in serious trouble. I don't see a way we can save this, to be honest. We're probably gonna have to fight to take it back. Queen Belenesu the Learned has tutored Prince Hammurabi, improving his wisdom. King Consort Sin Mubalit, your husband is thankfully feeling much better now and is no longer ill. Naditu the Younger has died, and Duchess Lamasani is old enough to be tutored by courtiers. Unexpected personal connections have opened up a direct channel with the leaders of Carthage or Greece. The court seeks to improve relations with both nations, but we should proceed with caution. Shall we move forward with Carthage or Greece? Now, Greece is actually a rising power. Stronger and competent as opposed to... well, they're both stronger and competent, so let's just take a look at the relations. Greece gives us a whole stack of knowledge, and actually we get a big... I think I'm going to say... improve relations with Greece. Immigrants, a rabble of barbarian refugees have settled outside the gates of Opus. They request our aid and sanctuary. What shall we tell them? God, it is so tempting to go for... yeah, we'll take the scout in Opus. I need the extra orders right now. Time passes quickly. Duchess Lamasani is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate her? Commerce. Okay, so I'm basically going to treat Uruk as lost. I mean, I'll maybe try repair damage for... to put a brave face on it, but I just don't see... Between these two attacks, I don't see how those walls stay up. And I don't believe the worker will count as a proper defense. So, what we do is we take our revenge on Roma, and that's going to take a lot of effort. I think I'm actually... Alright, I'm gonna get reckless. Now again, this chariot's probably a waste of time, but let's hurry it anyway. So much tutoring. Alright, Hammurabi is the is the one who's going to inherit the throne, so... And I believe we can no longer... Oh. Our people have suffered greatly in the ongoing conflict. All the gold we spend on war could be spent here in Babylonia. Perhaps it's time for a truce. Don't have the resources for it. I could if I didn't hurry that chariot, but apparently I'm going for full greed here. Okay. Let's try and do our best with maintaining the empire. Mines are a good improvement here, and we do actually need the iron, so... Interesting. I was definitely not expecting this. This is actually a reasonably clever trap. Yeah, so like obviously that was sufficient to take out a that was sufficient to take out an archer. I'm a little salty about that, if I'm completely honest. And we're gonna get clobbered twice over. All right. So games recommending sovereignty, which will give me tyranny or constitution. Or we could redraw for navigation, monasticism, sovereign. Well, oh no, sorry, citizenship, portcullis, or battle line. Tough call. Let's go with what the game recommends. I'm gonna go on the offensive, and then we'll probably have to heal next turn. Basically, we're repairing damage forever here. This is going to be a really, really rough run. Because I'm taking a cavalry unit and attacking a polearm. But this sucks. Unyielding general, no matter how many times they are attacked, Nebuchadnezzar's troops refuse to give ground. His rallying cries mean that the troops keep fighting well beyond what would normally be possible. Nebuchadnezzar's tenacity is an inspiration. Sorry, I totally missed Irrepressible. This game has none of it, but do you ever think about how an ancient empire was actually administered when it would take like a year to send a message? What do you think when you get poked in the eye, escape the shin? Always blew your mind to think that there were orders and proclamations that would take weeks, and then wonder how many orders were either miscommunicated or twisted to the benefit of the deliverer. signet rings getting a workout on those sealed scrolls and stuff like that, as well as forgers who worked all the way through to modern times. As long as there was security, there's been someone trying to best it. Yeah, I mean, it is a really interesting point that you raise, Irrepressible. I do think to a certain extent it is actually present in this game in the sense of the order system, right? You can sort of see how there is a recognition of legitimacy and sort of its effects on your ability to sort of like get things done, for lack of a better term. But you're absolutely right. Like, you know, we take instantaneous communication for granted, and that certainly would not be true for the majority of history. And in fact, you could certainly consider, you know, one of the great features, like, so there's the Roman Empire, right, which is enormous. But of course, it also has quite a bit of work in terms of developing roads, developing the infrastructure that actually permits that kind of administration. And of course, even then, you know, it's not like the history of the Roman Empire is constant peace and tranquility. You of course have crises and different factions trying to sort of be top dog. And then of course, as an administrative decision, eventually the sort of split, right? The Western and Eastern Empire. But it is a really interesting point. It's one that's tough, I imagine would be difficult to a certain extent to put into a game. One of the ways that I think that some games handle this is when you're not allowed to sort of take the battlefield approach. So Old World, again, is inheriting from the 4X game, which is a little bit sort of like playing a... You know, it's a bit like a tabletop war game, right? You've got hexes, you're moving pieces around, they've got certain stats that you can manipulate to your advantages and whatnot, but it's definitely quite stylized. But obviously there are some games where there's no attention at all on the tactical aspects of the battles, and you're sort of left to assign the appropriate generals and sort of hope that things turn out, which is also an interesting way of going with it. Oddly enough, so I've never really had aspirations towards game design. Obviously, there is that project that I did with Valiant Cheese. But I did actually have an idea when I played Sunless Sea. I was really intrigued by the idea of sort of the great game specifically in the Fallen London universe. Like, obviously, the great game is also it has its sort of real life analogy. But it was actually very much around that idea that you know, it would be a strategy game in the sense that it is making strategic considerations, but essentially you are relying on the sort of information that if you've ever played Sunless Sea, you know how you can sort of give information to the Admiralty based on what you've seen. And so ultimately you would need to be making decisions based on sort of old information, which I sort of thought was... I always thought there was something interesting about that. It may actually turn out to be a terrible idea. I don't know, because I don't think anybody's going to make that game. But I do think there's something kind of interesting about a game where you have to sort of rely and navigate through old information. I think it's also outside our experience that's a little tricky to wrap your mind completely around. At this point, our great-grandparents all had the telegraph. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I've been doing a little research into telecom. The story of laying the first transatlantic cable is absolutely bananas. Like, I actually just finished a really good book on venture capital called The Power Law by Sebastian Mallaby. And obviously, venture capital is one of these things that we associate with very, with extremes, let's say. But I don't think a lot of our present day activities hold a candle to some of the stuff that some of the maniacs who were trying to wire the world. I actually just got a book by Arthur C. Clarke called How the World Was Won, ONE, and it's about the telecommunications early era of telecommunications and sort of it's the wiring of the world. Yeah, Elgrins, that's basically the idea of, it was a real-time thing that I was sort of imagining, but that's more or less like what my my idea for it was. All right, a member of the local government in Nippur has earned a reputation for shrewdness and efficiency. Shall we make use of these skills? New diplomat or push favorable policies? I think I want to push favorable policies because it'll give me a chance to rush another unit. So at least some of my considerations at this point need to be how easy is it for me to take something out? This unit can do some serious damage to Rome. That looks like that was a good crit. You know what? No, I don't like these. Hang on. There might be another way of working this. Not enough. Okay. I always want to do a little damage on... Oh, sorry. Actually, there's one small improvement I can make. So this moves it out of the threat from the Byreme, I think? Yeah. So they may be able to focus down... No, I think even if they focus down, it's not going to be enough to seal the deal. So, let's see what the next turn brings. I really need food. I need everything, really. Let's go for a spearman. And I think at this point, both cities kind of get priority, or actually all the cities get a priority of repairing damage. Again, it's the thing that kind of keeps me alive and in the fight. Also just taking a look at the culture levels, so if I could rush production... Okay, so this is strong culture, so I could, in theory, actually rush out an archer in a Kassite city, which would definitely not be bad. Nope, can't hurry it if the city's damaged. Okay. Which makes sense, right? Like you can't hurry defensive units in a city under siege. I think that's perfectly fair. Okay, hold on to your hats. Definitely going hard against the archer, but I don't think it's an... Oh, come on! Unbelievable. It's unfortunate. This. Judaism is spread to one of your cities. Religions provide culture and affect discontent in cities with them. For example, a city with a friendly religion will have its discontent reduced by 2. You can choose to adopt a state religion for your nation, allowing it to guide the impact that your religion has spread on your cities via theologies. A religion can provide me with powerful bonuses if I invest in it. Definitely want to, but I've got quite a bit on my plate already. So, the mongrel. One day on the training grounds, Duchess Zakiti notices a lame mongrel begging for scraps. She takes the creature into her care and nurses him back to health. From that point forward, the creature never leaves Zakiti's side. The dog possesses a complete devotion to Zakiti, who turns to you for guidance on how to best raise the pup. What training do you suggest? Treat the dog with affection and gentleness for charisma and discipline. She uses a strict system of rewards and punishments. Or she should beat and torment the creature for loyalty. No, we will be compassionate. Worshippers from all over the region arrive at court seeking direction. Is it time to adopt Judaism as our state religion? Doing so will reduce discontent in Jewish citizens and improve relations with families who follow Judaism. Yes. Babylonia has adopted Judaism as its state religion. Okay. How do I get out of this mess? This is more than a little frustrating that this isn't enough to kill this thing. I'm actually going to rearrange the actions. Yeah, it looks like I don't... one way or another, they're going to wind up... I suspect we're probably going to wind up losing another archer by the end of all of this, but... Okay, let's cycle through some units. So where we can, repairs to keep our people in the game. Okay, food's become a pretty big priority at this point, so as much as I want to be building other things, like the Great Ziggurat, let's get to work on what really matters. Oh. No, that's the free scout. not the most important thing I can be building right now. I probably should have been developing some of this sooner. Actually, mines would not be a bad thing to invest in. Although the game is recommending the incense and barley. Barley's probably best because of the food that it gets me. Okay, gold's nice, but I kind of need iron a little bit more. Well, let's deal with we'll deal with the deficits that we currently have. We're really short on military units right now. This is actually becoming a bit of a worry. And again, 6 years to take a really heavily entrenched enemy. I suspect we will not take Rome in time. Yeah, it's just this endless supply of slingers, it feels like. That's... oh, unbelievable. I guess, in the end, I'd feel a lot better if I just knew where they were coming from. And I have to admit, like, I don't have a scout there. It's probably legit, but it's definitely hard to swallow sometimes when just there's this seemingly endless stream of misery coming after you. Oh my god, yeah. Burnaburish is your chancellor. I'm kind of at a point here I want to... You're talking about Hannibal and Scipio like 2 weeks ago, and here you are wandering around Rome fighting a bunch of legions. Okay. I don't feel good about doing this. I'm actually going to... So for those of you who are looking... like, this is kind of making the stream a bit of a write-off, but I've actually let the playthrough kind of run away from me. And there's a couple of big things I want to change. So I'm actually going to run this back a little bit. And I want to... There's a few things that I'm going to do a bit differently. Now, this is not like prepare for the war for Rome and stuff like that. But there's a couple of priorities that I actually want to think about a little bit differently. So we're basically going back to the loss of the previous ruler. And again, like I do feel a bit bad about this because like that's a lot of progress and a lot of stuff that like, so the thing is that I'm sort of avoiding the consequences for some decisions that I made earlier. And I don't think, so I'll be honest with you, I don't think what I ran into was something that I could not overcome. But I think the challenge is that I made a number of, like, it's an accumulation of errors. And one of my big sins has actually been to rely a little bit too much on the game's recommendations. Hey, great, thank you. Yeah, I actually really appreciate it when chat is a bit more understanding about me reloading the game. Because, like, here's the thing. When we started this playthrough, I did a really clowny start, and I got demolished. And I'm like, okay, we're starting that over again. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to talk about a few things that have been sitting in the back of my mind. And I'm like, I really wish I solved this earlier and didn't. And I'm sort of living with the consequences now. So with that in mind, I'm going to be working a little bit more in terms of some intentions and how I'm going to sort of turn a few things around in terms of the approach I was going to take. Now, Rome isn't at war with me. It's possible that we may get lucky and Rome doesn't attack, but we'll have a few. I have a few ideas in terms about how we can do this differently. And the streamer, if you want to rewind time, well, Time Lord, slap that button. Yeah, I just, I kind of feel bad because, sometimes people sign up for one thing and they move on. And the one thing I don't like doing, so I got to be clear that this is just kind of a me thing right now. I don't want this to be a reflection of the fact, I don't want this to seem like Old World is not fun to play when you're losing. But in this case here, I have to unwind a whole bunch of stuff from earlier, and I wanna do it a little cleaner, and I'm actually going to talk specifically about the stuff that I wanna correct now. So let's run through the old events that we had, and I'm going to talk about the current position we find ourselves in. So both the Chaldeans and the Amorites have suffered labor risings in the last month, and they come to us seeking insight. While they do not wish to surrender all authority, they need the court's help to organize their affairs. What shall we do? So we went for centralization. I'm still going to go for centralization, but again, one of the things that I was running into previously was we're really running low on resources, and I said I was going to get workers to fix that, but I never actually did use my workers to work around this problem. So in this case, we're still going to go for centralization, but I need to make sure that I handle the other half of that equation. Algrin says it's a complicated game with a lot of intricacies. Sometimes you need a record scratch moment. Yes, yeah, very much so. And Onig, I should also say too, so I'm a big fan of this game. If you have any questions about how it works, I'm on year 57 of 200, so it's about a quarter of the way through. We're on a third generation of rulers, so if you have any questions about how it works, I know people tend to prefer to lurk, and I'd like to think that my format supports that. But if you do have any questions that I haven't kind of covered in terms of the commentary, definitely feel free to speak up, and I'm happy to try and cover what I can. So in this case, we're still going to go for centralization. Now, just, I'll take a second. I'll load it up as soon as I can. But we're still going to go sacrifice cows to our chief god. And in this case, we're going to blow a bunch of food, but food is relatively inexpensive. So your newborn Duchess Akiti arrives in the dead of night during a howling rainstorm. The mystics of the court view this event as a very bad omen, and they warn us of coming turmoil. Oddly enough, the omens were correct. So, tutorial, scholar archetype. Your leader, Queen Belisunu, the new, is a scholar archetype. A scholar leader can conduct tutor child as leader missions and redraw technology choices. They can also unlock inquiries in the capital. I will make the best use of my leader based on their archetype. So remember, our first leader as Babylon also was a scholar, so the ability to redraw technology is actually quite useful. A character can be assigned as a general to a unit, contributing their unique bonuses to the unit. Assign a general by selecting a unit and then clicking the Add General button in the action panel on the left. A general, with the exception of the leader, cannot be from a different family from that of the unit. Our Slinger unit has been hard at work training for battle, and they are ready for leadership. Will you take the role of general and lead them? No, I am needed in the capital. Okay, so noble Jewish ambitions. The Kassite family are known for their Jewish religion and have sent a priest to the capital to make a plea for aid for both the family and the faith. In a lengthy speech, he explains that helping either the Kassite or Judaism would benefit everyone involved and lead to their increased support for your rule. Will you take on a new ambition? So we could try and go for 2 elder doctors. Now, I'm not 100% sure where we get doctors. I'm actually going to take a second and see. So it requires baths. Baths require architecture. I'm curious what... what's the prerequisite, though? That requires portcullis, which we don't have. So we'd have to go 2 techs down and then build 2 bathhouses, which clearly that's not happening. Queen Kashaya the Good, the governor of Babylon, has died in office. We'll choose a new governor. Traditionally, we put the ruler in there. and we will go back to controlling 10 cities. It's worth remembering that we get 2 as soon as we colonize these cities. Okay. So, let's talk about where we are in the overall playthrough. So I think what provoked the war with Rome was claiming these city sites. Now, I'm still probably going to do that, but I should maybe just keep in mind that if I'm going to be building improvements like that, I better be ready to defend them. The other consideration is my infrastructure. So right now we have a deficit of food. We could be doing better for metals, and we could be doing better for wood. And then, of course, I've had sort of a private rule for myself of getting... sorry, I'm just going to do some fighting. Actually, I can't remember. I think I might have healed this unit. So I might have to rewind things one more time. But yeah, so I kind of had this implied rule of like one unit per city doing things. I'm going to try and keep to that, but circumstances may work otherwise. One thing I do want to do, though, is I want to actually try and get these units... Oh, sorry. Okay, there's actually a couple of things that I want to do. So one, I want to get my resources in order, so that's going to mean building some farms, building more mines, and lumber yards. But there's another important thing, which was my whole strategy from the very start has been built around building a ton of Sumerian archers. So that's going to involve a lot of wood. That's going to involve the construction of a citadel. And I can't even build Akkadian archers right now because I don't have a stronghold and I don't have a citadel. So that's got to be a priority for my worker. Oh, right. Strongholds require 4 laws. So we've got epics, freedom, and centralization. Now, we don't have the tech for another law. That was, remember, we had that event saying that the Chaldeans and the Amorites wanted me to choose between centralization and vassalage. That's kind of the equivalent of giving me one of these laws. But yeah, I need to research tech that's going to give me that improvement. Okay, well that gives me a little bit to think about, I suppose. So let's okay, so I'm gonna change my priorities a little bit here. I did want to move all my units in place, but I think what I want to do first is make sure all my workers have something to do. Also, I'm not a schemer anymore, so I need to get my... I need to get my scout in safety. Okay, we finished a festival in Eshnuna. So I can get some extra money with these miners. I can also get extra wood with the woodcutter. I'm going to build 2 miners for the money and then the woodcutter. So, obviously with money I can buy the wood that I need, and then the woodcutter, you know, it's a bonus. Okay. Just trying to see what... So, this Amorite city is not a bad example. Is this really a quarry? Wow, I really did build quarries here. Oh, that's right, because I get bonuses for mines in these regions. So I suppose the question is, where am I building all my mines? And it actually looks like I haven't been investing a lot in iron mines. So that's good for me to keep in mind. We get land consolidation next turn. Okay, so I'm going to skip over this worker for now. I'm going to make this settler sleep. Okay, I'll get this worker to heal up. We'll wait on... Probably upgrade this sooner rather than later. But again, I wanted to see what workers I had free. So there is a small advantage to me developing my my lumber mill here first, because again, Babylon gets the bonus. So any city that's a Chaldean city is going to get a 20% bonus towards mines and lumber mills. So while I would normally like to build the farm here, I do actually want to take advantage of the higher wood output. Now, this unit's another question. So there is a side of me that wants to, you know, invest in things that will get me food. Now, next turn we're probably gonna have an easier time of it because we've got a grove. So in this case, we will build another quarry, and that's just because I get some adjacency bonuses I can work with. Now, I believe that takes care of all of the... Yeah, so that takes care of all of the workers. So what I want to be doing now, there's kind of a special order in which I want to do this stuff. So we currently have a war going on against the Assyrians. And I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to move and upgrade whatever units I can. Like, so the ones that are going to be the most sort of directly related to pushing my advantages, I want to take advantage of. I think we will... I'm debating as to whether or not I want to upgrade to an axeman or... Yeah, we'll make another axeman. I'll add a general at some point too, but... Well... No. We don't need to do that right now. Okay, so we're not any closer to solving the food problem, but we'll be working on that relatively soon. And once 2 years have passed, this... So I think this unit needs to move to Opus. Actually, honestly, I should maybe start building some iron mines first, and then we'll move them into Opus. We'll worry about that next turn. And I think I did say... Yeah, I think I might lose the chariot now that I think of it, so I may wind up rewinding time one more time. No, they went for the... Alright, Duke Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate is now on the road to recovery and is no longer severely ill. Patriarch Kudur Enil the Younger has died. Matriarch Melulatum the Younger is now head of Babylonian paganism. General Gandash the Wanton, my general of the warrior unit, has died in the field, and Gemeti the Scientist has converted to Babylonian paganism. Okay, so again, with there's two things that I can do. I can redraw. Now, I think that annihilates the training boost still. But my usual idea here is that whenever there's a boost, I take it. And of course, it's kind of nice because I'll be able to attach a bunch of generals and whatnot. So let's choose a new general. So first thing I'm going to do is move as close as I can to the region. Nebuchadnezzar the Younger it is. Okay. Let's deal with the war first. Actually, this doesn't need to be all that difficult. I just teal them up. It's going to be a little scary, but... Great thinkers. One of our most prosperous neighborhoods has become home to a burgeoning intellectual movement. Many of the capital's most talented young figures emerge from this area, and we should take notice. Whom should we bring to court? So we could bring an eloquent philosopher. That's going to cost us money and we get a scholar. Capable administrator. Or we cannot afford to pay that much. So I don't mind spending the money. The question is, do I need civics or do I need... Well, generally I go for science. So let's take another eloquent philosopher. A new court scholar, Gashin Sunu has joined the court. Her curiosity and insight will aid Babylonia in unraveling the mysteries of the world. Doesn't actually feel like that number went up all that much, but I'm going to grab another lumber mill. Again, adjacency bonuses are quite strong here. Now, Nipper. Garrison is tempting because of the orders, but let's keep moving. Now again, this may provoke war. Well, let's just do this one at a time. Okay, again, where I can, grab the food, even if it means buying up the wood. Ah, and we've already used up our moves. Okay, so the next question is, do I want to pay for orders, or am I content just letting things slide by? I think in this case, I kind of need to let things slide by. So again, this is a slightly different approach to war. We only have so many years to fulfill the legacy, which is a bit of a problem, right? Because we're no closer to taking out the Assyrians. Zoroastrianism has established Enlightenment theology. Carthage is now at truce with the Gauls. Carthage declares war on Assyria. Reports of a tribal raid from a Gallic encampment near Larsa. And I've given birth to a daughter, Duchess Keshaya. Overhearing Ereba the Schemer and Iltani, you are certain that they are plotting to kill you. As you leave the court, you are stopped by Ereba, hand resting on the sword at his side. He'll surely kill you unless you act. They know you know, which means you cannot be left alive. If you kill him now, then you will have one less enemy. So, grab the sword and kill Ereba. Can't do that. Don't have 7 sins, don't have 7 virtues. So guards seize Ereba and Iltani, throw them in jail. Okay, so again, move the unit where we can. Now it does say that there is a raid coming after us. So in this case, we're actually going to batten down the hatches. Well, maybe not. I'll keep this unit in the region, so I think we'll do the same thing that we've always done, which is focus on the improvements that we can do first, and then we'll see what military matters we can work on. One exception to this is promotions and healing. Okay. So we do need a farm, and this is an Amorite settlement, so I don't mind building a farm here. Oh, yes. Let's... So I'd clearly prefer to be healing the chariot, but gotta work with what I've been given. Okay, now this unit we're gonna build mines. So the way adjacent... So if you mouse over the mine, if any of you've played Off-World Trading Company, which is Mohawk's earlier game, you'll sort of remember how this system works. But basically, you get adjacency bonuses for neighboring tiles. So in this case here, I've already got a mine in these 2 regions. So if I put down the mine, and you can see on the kind of on the hex map what the values are going to be depending on where I build that mine. But particularly, I'm interested in this city, which is Chaldean. So the Chaldean settlements get a plus 20% bonus to output. There's 2 adjacent mines here as well. So generally, just like in Off-World Trading Company, it helps to have little triangles of improvements. Now, this is a little close to the city, right? So I can't expand this out into an urban tile, but I'm going to be able to live with that. Like, in this case, being able to get some of the bonuses. So I believe, oh, not quarry. So 10 a year. So there's 5 output from the mine, 20% bonus from it being from the family. There's a 60% bonus because I'm building it on a hill. There's a 10% bonus for each adjacent mine. So obviously, with the basically with a total number of bonuses that are applied here, we're getting a full 100% bonus to our output. So this is why, even though iron looks very low right now, I actually can build 2 of these mines in relatively short order. I just need to make sure that I have the wood for it. Okay, now this is, for the Kassite City, it's a little bit different. So Kassites do get some bonuses. So if I can build camps or nets, they'll also give 100% in terms of the output. That comes purely from the family. So in this case, the urgency to build like lumber mills is not quite there. So what I generally tend to do, so again, I always try to keep the family bonuses in mind, but what I'm really most interested in is when I have Kassite and Amorite cities, those are the ones, all things being equal, that I like to put things like farms on. So for instance, here we've got the farm. We can build a sorghum. In this case, it's going to be plus 8 food per year. So that's already half of my food deficit. Now again, we don't want to be breaking even on all this stuff. We actually want to do considerably better, but it's a start. One thing I'm also going to be doing here is I'm sort of breaking my rule of having 2 workers in a region. That's not like an optimal strategy or anything. It's just, you know, how I've built this. Now the pasture's not going to help me out with food, but building 2 of these pastures will get me another order. And obviously one problem I've been running into is that I've been really stuck in terms of being able to get everything done in a turn. So like I said, I am putting a little more emphasis on infrastructure where I can. But that isn't a, that doesn't go on forever. I'm mildly tempted. So if I run out like this, so there's no sort of woods in the immediate area. So I'm going to be a scaredy cat and run back. All right, Opus is Chaldean, so there's a side of me that wants to just really invest heavily in military, but I actually need to cool it a little bit on my cash balances. So let's build a 4... No, we're going to build an archive. Again, just doubling down on the science. Now, there aren't a lot of actions that I've taken that are necessarily going to prevent what happened last time from happening to me. But I am trying to be a little more prudent in terms of my management. Shuma of Ashuna has converted to Babylonian paganism. Nadintu the Younger has converted to Judaism. And Araba the Schemer, your relative, has died. Now this is a shame. So I have to pick the War Elephant or the Camel Archer. In this case, we'll go for the War Elephant. Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate, of the General the Archer, is too old and is retired from the field. Tempting to choose a new general, but I'm actually going to hold off on that for now. Now, shalom, Mr. Only Saying Hi. It's after 4 in the morning here. Your pillow is calling me. Wish you a wonderful week and a summer. Thank you very much, 1-4. I'm actually slightly tempted. I'm testing the hypothesis here that Rome's going to declare war on me when I found the city. Yeah, thank you, Winfor. I usually go for 3 hours. I'm trying to keep a little more disciplined on the start and end times, but I'm also possibly going to go a little later tonight. We'll see. But yeah, so I kind of, again, need to manage my resources well here. I think in this case, we're going to hit him with the axe. This one, I'm going to heal up the chariot. Dead of night. The warden of Babylon's jail comes before the court with urgent news. In the still of night, an assassin slipped into the cell of Eriba the schemer and cut his throat. The head was removed and the body defiled. Clearly, Eriba had many enemies. An unfortunate end for an unfortunate soul. Okay, and as before, we make decisions based on... So in the case of the capital, again, we get big bonuses for building lumber mills in this region. I am going to prioritize workers, as I normally do. But hopefully we've got... Oh yes, I'm also going to run with my scout. Alright. So Anat has built walls. This is a Amorite city. It's still slightly tempting to start on a slinger for these guys. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Uruk. Yeah, I'm still going to start with treasuries for these guys, but I sometimes feel a little bad about it. Okay, Borsippa built a stonecutter. I can build another, or I can try and invest in my military again. I think in this case we'll go for another slinger. Yeah, well, we're slowly working on food. So the thing to remember about food is that I've got a couple of farms already on their way. It just takes 2 years. So the reason why I'm focusing on lumber here is that, again, I get sort of a very similar bonus to what happened before. So I think if I mouse over on the... it doesn't tell me the adjacency bonus. Oh, it does. So... It's either +8 or +9. So I've got 1, 2... I thought I had a third. Oh, this definitely looks like an invasion. Yeah, in any case, the food situation is gonna, like, it's sort of on the it's on the radar. I'm also slightly concerned about iron because I'm gonna need some more military units. But yeah, this is probably war. I wonder if it's possible to send somebody off to Interesting. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Okay. Yeah, as long as there isn't anything for the workers to do. Oh, sorry. When you have enough money in the bank, you'll get a better laptop and play this game. Your little Akoya can only play flat graphic games. And this random events can also ruin your way of playing it your way. I mean, I kind of like them, but you're right. Like, it definitely can feel like the game is... giving you a hard time. Okay. I think I'm actually gonna put this on an archer. I actually have a couple good archers. So these are going to be units that are committed to this fight, potentially also against Rome. Some of these in the back here are actually going to deal with this rabble. Yeah, this definitely looks like war, so... the oracle is completed by Assyria. Hanbi of Sika, your mother-in-law, has died. And Melishipak the Younger has converted to Babylonian paganism. A time to kill. Consequences. Disastrous news. King Remut Adad, the architect of Assyria, has discovered that we were behind the death of his predecessor. Needless to say, he's extremely upset and has sworn vengeance against us. Most unfortunate. Abelisunu is the governor of Babylon. They can become an equestrian and get bonuses for mounted units. They can become eloquent, which will improve civics per culture level, as well as overall civics across the empire. Or we can further work on our wisdom, which I'll do here. So notice we're starting to close the gap a little bit as far as food is concerned. Now I am going to buy some here. Oh. I think I'll just go shift for the 10. And it's just because this is one of the cheaper commodities for me to buy. Time to go have fun with the game and don't go too late in your cozy bed. You cannot walk in Canadian nature to hunt moose. Yes. I also I'm on 3 hours of sleep. So I can't blame that entirely for my bad decisions here, but it's a convenient excuse. Okay, so it looks like the Romans haven't declared war on me, but again, we always need to keep that as a possibility in mind. Let's go... punch some Assyrians. So this unit's out in the open. This is going to mean that probably the archers are going to come after them here. Ooh. Well, at least it's protected from the Assyrians. All right. So this is still within the borders for the Chaldean family, so it still makes sense to build a lumber mill. This gets me an additional 9 wood. This is harder. The granary gives me growth, but it doesn't give me food. So we focus on this farm. Okay, so all my workers are doing something now. So the rest of the story is to try and move towards. So again, if I can, I want to reinforce the front, but I want to reinforce the front in such a way that we're still improving our resources. If it's not clear, incidentally, so you'll notice that my orders, 8 of my orders are actually taken up by 8 of my orders are taken up by the construction of improvements. So my decision to work on infrastructure is actually, like, it does have a cost. Like, I'm not able to do as much with my military. Bearded Psychic says, I've never played this game. Is the AI particularly bloodthirsty? So I'm playing on the noble difficulty, which I think is kind of, I don't know, I guess average. I'm not 100% sure where it is on the total ranking, to be honest. I don't know if I can say it's particularly bloodthirsty. I do feel like it, definitely Assyria declared war on me pretty readily. And I certainly took territory that Rome obviously wanted, and they declared war on me in a previous iteration of this save. So, in this case, I do note that, well, actually, right now it lists as similar. So, it's possible that if Rome were to list itself as stronger than me, they might try to invade. I am having a good day. Again, I'm very, very tired, but it's hard to have a bad day when I'm playing Old World. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I definitely feel like my tendency is still a bad habit that I've gotten from playing Civilization. I tend to play the game as if war doesn't exist, and that always comes to bite me. But I definitely feel like if you don't invest in your military, the game will let you know that was a bad idea. But yeah, I don't know if I would say the game is particularly bloodthirsty. I suspect probably it has more to do with my just my particularities of playing. So we got another farm coming online at the end of the turn. You are now known as Belisunu the Mason, and Sabium of Borsippa has died. You've made contact with Greece, which could be an excellent learning opportunity for us. They surely have their own culture and knowledge, which will be fascinating to learn about. Although, on the other hand, it could also be an interesting exercise to find out exactly how many siege engine it takes to batter down the walls of Pella. So we can study Greece peacefully, or we shall engage in some practical learning. So this would be wonderful. But no, first of all, Belisunu is not a general. And I can't really afford that many wars right now. So we will study Greece peacefully. Also, similar power and competent knowledge. So something for me to keep in mind. Okay. Well, the world hasn't gone up in flames yet. I suppose that's nice. I also note that the Assyrians... Okay, so they're running away with their... If the Romans declare war, they're going to clobber this unit, but this is helpful for giving me an idea in terms of how much effort I'm going to need to put in to try and invade the Assyrians. I would have preferred not to dedicate my entire force to taking that unit out, but it sure does clear up matters with the Assyrians. Okay, so we finished a treasury in our new settlement. I am slightly inclined towards building walls here now. Now the next thing I'm going to do... I'm going to go to my unit list and I'm going to see if there's any workers not doing anything. Quite a few. So we've got some training to use up. Normally this gets used for military purposes, but in this case I'm actually going to buy up a bunch so that I can build some improvements. So this will help me get an extra order, I think. It's hard to say no to some more money, although that is going to be a big hit on my training, so maybe we'll just leave that. Yeah, honestly, it's only one worker I'm leaving idle now, so that's hard to say that's a waste of a turn. Marduk Nadin Ahi the Compassionate has died, and Palatum the Superstitious has died. Okay, so, remembering that one of the things I wanted to work towards was a stronghold so that I could build my sort of elite, my elite ranged units. Navigation makes a lot of sense so that I can get either colonies or serfdom. Now, colonies will lower my training per year. Alternatively, I could do serfdom, which will increase unhappiness but give me more orders. It also costs a lot of money. Alternatively, I could try sovereignty. So tyranny will give me more military, but it'll cost me civics. Might work out, actually. Let's do navigation. Okay, so again, we want to be working on our iron. We're almost where we need to be for food. But this unit's better served by making mines. And this time I'm actually going to focus right off the top on workers. So we can build pyramids. This is actually kind of tempting to do because of the orders and the fact that it gets me a bonus order. In this case, though, I am going to build the mine first. I want to naturally get to 600 stone. But as far as the rest of my, as far as most of this is concerned, all of my workers are currently occupied. So is the tutorial good? Yeah, I actually think the tutorial is pretty decent. The scenarios are also kind of... I think the scenarios do a decent job of sort of letting you know what you need to know as well. I definitely feel a large part of this game is unlearning some of the stuff that you take for granted in Civilization, but I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. So it's definitely fair to say that I'm getting caught by some bad decisions that I've made, and would maybe... Ooh. Well, this is going to get interesting. I don't think it's enough to kill my my axemen, but needless to say, I was not anticipating that kind of force. That's 3 archers worth. No, and granaries don't work the same way as they do in Civ. So specifically what it gives me is an extra order, which as you can see, I've always been short on. And it gets me... it also gets me further up on my score, my victory points. Okay, adopt a state religion. Worshippers from all over the nation arrive at court seeking direction. Is it time to adopt Judaism as our state religion? Doing so will reduce discontent in Jewish cities and improve relations with families who follow Judaism. So yes, we will adopt it. So I think, yeah, we have leftover actions to take. So I'm still going to move my Akkadian archer into the main region. Now, one thing I do need to do is just heal up these units so that I can make them part of the broader offense. But again, there's only so many actions that I can take. So we'll see what the Butcher's Bill is for the attack on the Axemen and such. Yeah, Rome just declared war, so we're screwed. Rome wasn't war-enabled in a day. Okay. I do hate that I'm doing this. I really don't want to end on this note, though, so I'm going to go back one turn. The only difference here is I'm not going to chase the archers with the axe. I mean, at this point, I'm just cheesing the game a bit, but I really don't want to have to go through all of that again. Although I will be, I'll confess, I'm a little curious as to why Rome declared war at that particular moment as opposed to others. Like, they still count as similar. So, of course, my other alternative is I become the aggressor and just, like, move in directly to take Roma. Okay, we'll take the training boost here. Is this the same turn? I feel like this is not the... I feel like this is much earlier. That's no good. I might have actually spoiled this a little bit. I mean, again, this is what I get for cheesing it, but... Well, I was going to say, the AI, I suspect, is very good. The designer behind this game is Soren Johnson, or lead designer. Behind this game is Soren Johnson, who is... was responsible for Civilization 3... did the AI on Civilization 3. I think did AI and overall design on Civ 4. And then also did the 4X version of... I think the 4X part of Spore. I know he worked on Spore, and I'm assuming that was what he was brought in for. This is the latest one, but I think this is the turn that I just took. But yeah, I mean, certainly I mean, I think it's fair to say that Civilization 4 is still one that people regard very highly. I generally tend to like the newest version of things, so, you know, there's not intended as disrespect to the fourth Civilization game, but, like, I generally tend to like, all things being equal, I do tend to think that games get better. Okay, so we're working on land consolidation here still. So if I go back to the one just before... Sorry, I'm feeling like one of the autosaves didn't trigger. And what I just wanted to do here was roll back so I don't chase the... I just don't chase the archers into Roman territory. Sorry, I'm all over the place tonight. Yeah, so we're in year 63 here. Okay, so... Oh, but I can't undo. Okay, fair enough. So if I do the one before that... I'm assuming probably what's causing this is the fact that I've sort of reset a couple times, so I suspect these autosaves might be determined by the turn number as opposed to the time, maybe. Thanks, Algrins. Yeah, I mean, it's there's definitely a lot to pick up on here. I think maybe what would have been better for me was maybe just not to start on the noble. But because it's interesting, like to a certain extent, I feel like in terms of the overall, like, so just think about the goal that we had earlier, right? Like getting the kind of the empire back to where it needs to be. Like, this is not a bad spot to be in terms of all my numbers, right? Like everything's back in greens. Now, I'm maybe not in a point where I want to say, okay, let's just go start a war right away. I certainly would like to have a lot more orders. But in terms of that goal that we had of sort of getting our resources back to where they needed to be, that certainly was met. Okay, so again, we choose navigation or sovereignty. We'll go for navigation. And in this time, we'll focus on workers, although I think we just have one or two. Yeah, so we'll grab the 10. And this is about the money. Okay, so next up. We will adopt the state religion. So next up, we are going to heal instead of pursuing the Assyrians. Okay, next up, so we've got the arrival of sort of the raiding party. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to move an archer unit down just so we can properly defend Uruk. But next up, I'm going to start moving more of my units in sort of this main area. So either we're going to have to go to war. I mean, the other possibility I have is I just try and sneak this scout down near Roma, get an idea of what kind of forces they have, and maybe we just blitz Roma. It's probably not the smartest idea for me to do, but it's a way I can capture a foreign capital. Although I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure where that polearm came from. Rome has begun the construction of the Great Ziggurat. News arrives from Carthage. King Carle the Ambitious of Carthage is dead. A new ruler, King Osmelech the New of Carthage, has taken the throne. Their opinion of you is upset. Abelsin of Borsippa has converted to Babylonian paganism, and King Dowager Su Abu, my in-law, has died. Okay, so there was a question about the tutorials. So this is an example of sort of the in-game tutorial if you enable it. Zoroastrianism has spread to one of your cities. Religions provide culture and affect discontent in cities with them. For example, a city with a friendly religion will have its discontent reduced by 2. You can choose to adopt a state religion in your nation, allowing it to guide the impact that religion has on your cities via theologies. A religion can provide me with powerful bonuses if I invest in it. Now, part of this is just a function of the fact that I haven't been investing in my religion, but of course I've been doing that because there's so much else for me to be doing right now. So, King Osmelech the New of Carthage, news reaches you from abroad that your fellow ruler, King Carle the Ambitious of Carthage, is dead, found in a well weeks after mysteriously disappearing. Osmelech the New of Carthage has ascended to rule Carthage. He has been elected by noble houses to serve as king in Carle's footsteps, leading the people and the Senate of Carthage into a new age. Now, Let's start again. I want to focus on my workers because I'd like to kind of get up to double digits in terms of all of my different resources. Game's recommending a hamlet here, which is not a terrible idea. It is a little more income oriented. Let's see my options after I've worked on some other things. So they're recommending a mine here. Also recommending a hamlet. I'm not crazy about any of these options. So, as before, eventually I'm going to have a very archer-heavy strategy, so I need as many lumber mills as I can get. Well, I gotta build that camp at some point. Okay, I will confess I am slightly more inclined to build a farm than a granary. Oh, but plus 60% for adjacent farms. That's why it's recommending it. Okay, so I've got 13 orders to work with. Now, I am curious if I can get some kind of a treaty with Rome. No. Yeah, so I mean, one of my options, I suppose, is that I declare war first. So theoretically, if I were to do that. So, like, one of the big problems is if I wanted to try and make the move on Rome, there's these two cities that are in the way. So claiming one of these cities would help me with my Control 10 cities ambitions. But I would be fighting sort of everything in this small region here. And as we know, Rome kind of seems to have this infinite stream of slingers at its disposal. Oh, production in Opus. I think I'm going to start with walls for these guys. So part of this is just a question of getting troops to the front. I also think I should start adding I mean, I'm not crazy about any of these things lowering the attack, but at the very least, I can get a general with some crit. So I'm going to put my scientist. This still gets the extra crit. It's tough to make a call on these, but there we go. I've distributed some generals. But yeah, so like this is one of the harder calls for me to make here. So I have two thoughts on this. So one thing I want to try and do is to achieve the capture of foreign capital legacy. So the question is, can I realistically expect to take Rome in 13 turns? Definitely feels like Rome is kind of spoiling for a fight. It's currently listed as a similar strength power to me. One of the big problems I have right now is that I've got a barbarian raid kind of coming after me. I've got forces sort of spread all along the length of my empire. And of course, they've got some fairly concentrated forces. And again, there is the question in terms of just where all these, like when we went to war with them previously, there was just seemingly this endless stream of slingers that was coming after us. So, I mean, I've got the elephant. I feel like we have something of a chance against Rome. But boy, would it be nice to have a lot more units, and it would also be kind of nice to have, like have everybody in the places they need to be. So again, like it's nice that I'm similar strength as Rome, but I think the placement of the units is a big factor here. But like on the other hand, the other reality I need to deal with is like, okay, so maybe I don't need to worry about maybe I don't need to worry about the maybe I don't need to worry about this legacy. Like maybe I just accept. So there's two paths I can go down, right? One, I can try and go after Assyria, try and take Assur, which, I mean, the game does say we're similar power. But the worry I have is that that Rome is going to freak out as soon as it sees our armies come close to it. So my most likely foreign city is closed to me because that potentially opens a second war with Rome. Second alternative is say, well, if war is inevitable, then we go and we try and take Roma, and we get the added bonus where we also potentially stop them from building the Great Ziggurat, which would be kind of nice. Alternatively, say we don't do either of those options. We just fail the legacy, and then we spend all our time building our forces to be able to take out the Romans when the time comes. Well, that's all well and good to say, but the fact of the matter is that I still don't have my fourth law. I still don't have my higher level archers. Like, as far as investment in the military is concerned, we've been building up all of our sort of internal strength, like walls and slingers and such. So it's a tough call. It's actually going to be a question that I solve next time I stream this. So I'll just say, but that's kind of, I don't know. That's sort of how I'm thinking about it right now. The immediate concern of getting my economy back in balance is, like, it's not solved, but it's at least kind of back on track. Eventually I'm going to need to start dealing with some of the discontent. So Murad has got 3. Babylon's got 4. That's actually contributing to a lot of the reductions. Like, just generally everything gets more expensive the more discontentment there is. But I'd say probably some of my bigger problems right now are just driven by the fact that I haven't been... like, I've had the possibility of being able to build up my... like my army, but I haven't built sort of the necessary infrastructure to be able... Sorry, I haven't built it... I need to rephrase that. I haven't built the necessary infrastructure to build the army I know I can field. So this is incidentally why I've been putting the effort into building up some iron mines. Again, the more we can build those up, the easier it is for me to upgrade units into things like axes and all of that. One other thing I should mention is there's a small outside chance. Now, again, I have some questions as to whether or not I can pull this off in 13 turns. But if I can redirect my forces sort of around between Rome and Carthage and, like, take Kanta and then move on Assur right away, if that doesn't freak out the Romans, I might have a better time of it. But again, like, I kind of have my doubts as to whether or not that's gonna work out. But yeah, we'll see. Fortunately, I have a week to think about it, and hopefully within the week I will have sorted out my sleep schedule so that I'm a little less loopy. I know it was a little bit of a mess this time around, but I hope it was enjoyable in its own funny way. I'm actually delighted that there's a few people who are considering the game. So if you want to see some of the earlier stuff that I've done on my YouTube channel, we started with the Heroes of the Aegean DLC, which is a series of scenarios. And I actually thought that the first couple of scenarios did a fairly decent job of introduction. I thought they did a fairly decent introduction in terms of things like how combat works. So just maybe for the benefit of people checking out the... you bought this the last time you saw it stream and you really enjoyed it. That is awesome to hear, Quidquam. So thank you for letting me know about that. The Heroes of the Aegean was free for the first couple of weeks that it was out on Steam. So now if you want to play the Heroes of the Aegean scenario, which I did earlier on in the streams, this is now paid. But Rise of Carthage Oxhide is a scenario. So there's a couple things. So first of all, there's 5 tutorials to introduce the game. There is also a very large manual written by, again, a member of the community and somebody who's actually written the events inside of the game. So this is not something that was available when the game was first released on Epic, but is something that has been added to the game as they continue to develop it. So in terms of ways to learn to play, there's actually a few different things. I would definitely recommend trying the tutorial, both the in-game tutorial and the formal one here. But if you'd like a little bit of structure in terms of your play, Rise of Carthage is not a terrible campaign. I went to Heroes of the Aegean just because, I got an early look at that thanks to Hooded Horse. But of course, if you do like just the base game, just hit new game, pick a ruler that you're interested in. You play Greece, you play Philip of Macedon if you do the tutorials. But there are a few different entryways into the game. So if you prefer a little bit of structure on your first plays, I would consider, if you don't get Heroes of the Aegean, definitely consider the Carthage campaign. If you do get Heroes of the Aegean and you like combat, I actually think you have Thermopylae and Salamis as some of your first encounters. So I think it's a decent way of sort of introducing people to the game. But yeah, if you want to see that sort of stuff on the YouTube channel, one of the conventions that I do, I don't make playlists until people ask for them. But if you want to see some of my earlier Old World stuff, I do put in the square brackets beside the stream title or the broadcast title. I do put the game name inside of it. So if you do a search for Old World on my YouTube channel, you should be able to see some of those previous playthroughs where I make even more mistakes, but I learn from them. But also, if you just want to see this playthrough continue, I will definitely be streaming it next week, Monday at the latest. For the rest of the week, on Wednesday, we're going to be back to Phantom Brigade because the new update will be out for that, and I believe that adds replays, which is going to be a lot of fun to see. And then Friday is something of a free game. I would be interested in doing Old World, but I do also have Songs of Conquest out there, and a game that is sort of strategy-like, which I've been meaning to but I've been meaning to cover. The developer actually reached out and offered me the key, and I let them know that there would be a while between like them giving me the key and when I'd be able to play it, but I don't want to put that off indefinitely. So I might try that sometime soon. Yeah, that's definitely how I like to play at Allgrins. Although I think this time I maybe got a little too comfortable with resetting the game a couple of times. But again, I definitely put myself down a couple of tricky paths. Now I do apologize, I've been rambling a whole lot. Normally I look for a stream around here, but I did not have my browser open yet. So let me just take a second and see who's online. Oh, one other thing I'll just comment on. I really like the soundtrack to this game, but if you are not a broadcaster yourself, I highly recommend not listening to the version that I'm listening to. By default, recording and streaming copyright safety mode is off. Some of the best tracks in this are actually muted. Which again is fine. Like I'm actually really happy that they included this because the fact that I got some fairly nasty like copyright messages definitely made sure that I was reluctant, let's say, to stream this for a little while. So I think the fact that Mohawk took the time and made the game something that was a little more amenable to streaming, I really appreciate. Anyways, I need to shut up. Unfortunately, there's nobody playing Old World right now. Let me just see if I can find another game. and nobody playing Off-World Trading Company. So I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Outworld. Now, Outworld, I've hosted a couple of times. He is somebody who holds a few world records for Mortal Kombat. He's primarily a Mortal Kombat streamer, but not exclusively. But I noticed that he has got something of a smaller audience. So either he's just getting started or he's playing something new. Looks like he's playing... I don't know what this is. Oh, Knights of the Round. So... looks like he's just playing some fun arcade games. Anyways, Outworld's a guy who I've known for a while. He's an Australian streamer. I like to try and have some variety in terms of my hosts, but unfortunately, I don't have an Old World streamer to host, and all the other games that are sort of related to Old World, I just don't have any broadcasters for. So I hope you enjoy Outworld. For those of you who like my stuff, I will see you Wednesday for Phantom Brigade. For those of you here for Old World, latest Monday. And then, of course, Friday I'll either show you something new or probably Out There or Songs of Conquest. Have a good night.